All right. So I'm okay with starting now if you'd like one. I'm sure people will come in when they come in. That's usually how these things go. How are you doing tonight, Juan?
Let's do it. I'm feeling good down here in South America. If it's a little bit, is there any background noise? I'm right
No.
in the middle of the city and I it gets loud here. They're gonna start turning on music. They party every day of the week down here, is what I'm learning.
It sounds great. In fact, X has noise canceling already,
Okay,
so it's hard to even hear any music. I don't hear anything. It sounds
good.
crystal clear.
Good.
Yeah.
I put in my Beats headphones, so figure that would drown it out, but it's loud here. But yeah, everything's good. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Life is good. Things are moving in a positive direction. I love that this is a new year. New year, new time, new chapter, new everything. Uh, and you're starting a really big new chapter. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
Yeah, I spoke on it a little bit. So it's great to be back. 2 week hiatus for Beneath the Surface. So it's good to be back and talking to you again, Kara. We had a little chat beforehand. You are a little guardian angel. So I just appreciate you, and it's good to be back here. So yeah, I mean, I shared that no longer staying at a place I lived at for about 3.5 years in downtown Miami. I just felt a pull, a call to really be in the present. And I'm calling 2026 a nomad year. So I just plan on traveling around. I've been on the other blockchain banter share with the guys there and people that have come up and whatnot that I'm just I'm not planning too far ahead. I know where I'm gonna be next week, and that's about it. But I'd love to travel around the country, meet more Caspians in real life, set up some in real life events. I think I'll be helping Seb a little bit with cast maps. Um, have a great show that we started. I think we did our 10th episode with I see Bishop down there. So that's another big part of what I'm committing to. And like we spoke about before we got on this space and this call and on this episode, I just yeah, I feel it too. I feel like there's so many beautiful things happening within Caspa. So we can't have enough of these spaces. We can't have enough of these conversations because there is a lot to keep up with. It's, there's a lot being thrown out there, and it's all exciting. Um, so yeah, to decipher all this and just be a part of the community, that's how I see this. I love this because I've been an entrepreneur leader all my life, but what I really value about this community is just how we're truth seekers. We're going after finding out what's working, what's not, being real about it, having the conversations we need to have, and we're just in a beautiful space with this. So I just see 2026 as a huge turning point for Caspa. We don't sit here and talk about the nominal figures or what Caspa's priced at. We're talking about what Caspa's doing. And yeah, there's even I've discovered a couple new voices. We spoke about them briefly, but we had Parker on live on the cast with Standard, and we had a great conversation with him. Another gentleman I met. These are young guys. They're Gen X. Yeah, Gen Xers. So in their early 20s, wrote a book called. We wrote a book about Caspa Bitcoin. His name is Alexander Brandenberger. Apologize if I butchered the name. But yeah, there's just people are coming out of the woodworks, and we're having great conversations. And for me, I'm committed to being right here, right now. And in terms of where I'll be, I'll let you know on a week to week basis. So that's where I am.
That's awesome. And these past couple weeks, and we've had 2 weeks off from blockchain banter, and so a lot has happened. And I did not write down everything. I didn't write down anything. I just kind of let things happen. But there is one thing today that I want to bring up that's relatively a new, I say relatively, uh, this just came out. It came out on the 5th. So when I say relatively new, this is 2 days ago. Warp Core. Key launched Warp Core ISO 20022 in Kaspa, finality out. There's been so many new things that have come out. I can't even keep track at this point.
It's hard
There's
to.
so many things. Yeah,
It's hard to.
and everyone has so many ideas. Um, but I do want to briefly just mention Warp Core for a second because this is exciting. A lot of people, you may have noticed, have kind of been dogging on KII, because they say, oh, well, you say you're going to do this, you say you're going to do that, but where's the proof of the pudding? Where's the demo? Where's the screenshots? Give us something. You're just talking. I hear that all the time. They hear that all the time. But those of us that have been following along can see that they always say what they're going to do. These aren't just words that they just throw out into the ether. So Warp Core was launched, and what it basically does is it makes it so that banks have a way to work with Kaspa behind the scenes. So here's what Key actually said about it. They said that banks keep their existing messaging, their controls, and compliance pipelines while settling verifiable, immutable financial events on Kaspa at incredible speed without compromising decentralization secured by proof of work. Now, I don't know all that this does, but I know that it helps the lawyers behind the scenes, which is something that a lot of people don't talk about because they just want to see that the transactions are going through. But the thing is, you kind of need the lawyers behind the scenes to make sure that everything is compliant so that TradFi, so that the banks can work with the middleware layer so they can have a conversion so that when the settlement completes, there's something in the back end that these lawyers can say, haha, see, it's compliant. So this is big for banks. And that's a big step forward for Kaspa. So even though it may not seem as if it is the bells and whistles, so to speak, this is the underlying foundation to get Kaspa into banks. Not into banks, but you know what I mean, sort of bridging that compatibility with banks. That's a brand new thing. I'm so excited about it. And what you were saying, Juan, about you getting involved with CAS maps, I want to hear about this because that's a new thing. I know CAS maps is something Seb has been doing. I've seen what it looks like and I've registered for it. It's a place where people can say, hey, I have Caspa. I love Caspa. Here's where I'm located. How are you going to get involved with this? And what do you see the plans with that?
Yeah, so for me, speaking to being staying in the present, being here right now, that's the energy that I've been flowing with for quite some time. And for me, it was probably about a month and a half ago where I woke up one morning and I said, "Oh, I need to reach out to Seb today. I just need to have a conversation with him, see what's going on." And we got on a Google Meet call and we shared each other's story. We probably taught, Seb and I are talkers, so we ended up talking maybe 2 3 hours. It went, and Seb is in the Netherlands, and I know the call was really late. So he had to have stayed up to like 1 2 in the morning, but that's what he's been doing. So if you guys have had a chance to, he's typically on the other blockchain banner because right now it's 3 in the morning over there, so he's sleeping. But if you hear what he's been doing, Seb is a business consultant, and he really Cas was his passion project, as it is for a lot of us. And what he's been building out, he thought he'd be able to do it in a couple weeks in terms of maybe launching it, but the whole project stemmed from, I was out in Berlin. That's when I met Seb the first time. But when I was out in Berlin, BitCat and him and I got in the middle of that conversation, and BitCat was talking about, well, Bitcoin has this map where you can go and visit merchants that have that have that accept Bitcoin, right? So they just got to talking about it, and it was super cool to see Seb, put his foot forward and start that out. And that's kind of the way Cast Maps was birthed. So going back to the conversation I had with Seb, just in sharing my strengths and what I've done and how I've done what I've done, it aligns with where Seb is and his, what he's done. And he's an entrepreneur as well, like a business consultant. And with my skill set, I've shared, I've onboarded everybody in my family and anybody that sits next to me on an airplane flight, anybody, I'm wearing Caspa stuff all the time. I'm converting people not daily, but mostly. And by converting, it's just like having them download a wallet, have a conversation. People are, oh, like, what do you do? What are you up to? And I let them know, like, hey, I'm talking about sound money. You heard of Bitcoin? And then we get into the conversation. So it just, yeah, Carrie, it just aligns with my skill set. So there's nothing set in stone or concrete, and I think that's where we are with a lot of these Caspa projects, right? It's just like we see the potential of what can be built out on Caspa and how we can spread this to the masses. So Cas Maps is one of the tools that can help with that. So I volunteered my time, energy to help as much as I can or with whatever I can when it comes to that. So I'll make phone calls, I'll reach out to these businesses. I've closed big deals. I've done this for 25 years. So I'm just looking forward to contribute in any way that I can with Cast Maps. It's Seb's project, um, his baby, and that's what I'm looking to do with everything that I'm doing. So it's a big part of the reason why we're running this show, right? Like the show started. Um, I met Lavendi and Chris in Berlin, and literally just having a conversation about life. Like what obviously Caspa is what unites us and gets us talking into the same room. But it's pretty cool. It's like what happens with our conversations here. We get a little bit beneath the surface and have a human connection. And Lavendi reached out, and then that led to them reaching out to you because I recommended you, and um, yeah, so here we are. So yeah, those are that's a couple, a little bit of the tidbit in terms of what is manifesting from Cast Maps and where we are right
I
now.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're doing episode 12. So thank you everyone who's joining us. We're still um I think we're in the double digits now, so we're getting there. That's really cool. We get a lot of replay backs, so a lot of people tend to listen to us on recording rather than being here live. But those who are here live, we just want to say thank you. I see a lot of familiar faces in here, which I love. And Onion, you're a regular now, so go ahead and click that speaker button because we're going to have you up on the panel. And I hope you're able to do that. But I also want to just kind of shift a little bit every now and then during our show today. I'd like to kind of throw in random updates with what's going on with Caspa because there are a lot of things going on. So what I'll probably do is every now and then I'm going to go through my feed of a lot of new updates and just tell you briefly something new that's happened, if that's okay.
Yeah, what before
um,
you go to the next one, Kara, can I
uh-huh.
share, because I thought, with what you mentioned in Warp Core, I want to put this out, and since this is being recorded, I thought one of the quotes that, and I'll just be really quick with this, but what Rory said in terms of how he summed it up, right? This is a quote from him of what he said the bottom line of what Warp Core does. It turns ISO 222 flows into cryptographically provable financial events anchored to a public timeline that can't be altered without touching funds or leaking any data. That's what Warp Core is. So I just
Thank
wanted
you
to
for
add that.
clarifying
That's
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
great.
I mean
Thank you for that
you gave
one.
a great summary on it. It's just like I caught that and I wrote down exactly what he said word for word, and it's a beautiful explanation of what it is in
It
summary.
is.
So
It's
yeah.
beautiful. Thank you, Juan, for bringing that up. And yeah, that's thank you so much for that. So uh, there's a guy, Kaspa Intern. I think some people have seen what he's done. Kaspa Commons made a tweet about Kaspa Intern about some new things that he's been working on. And there's the Dubai Financial Services Authority, which is called the DFSA. They're in the Dubai International Financial Center, which is DIFC. I know these are abbreviations I'm not too familiar with. But effective January 12th, which is 5 days from now, there's going to be a change in amendments to the digital asset regulations. Here's what it means, and this is really bullish, especially for Kaspa, which I'll explain why in a minute. So there's going to be some major regulatory changes, which is a shift from token whitelisting to self-assessment. Previously, institutional exposure to crypto tokens required formal DFSA approval via a recognized list. This has been replaced by a market-led suitability assessment, where participants conduct their own due diligence on factors like governance, traceability, and market integrity. This reduces administrative barriers and emphasizes responsibility on firms. There's going to be a shift on the fiat crypto tokens, the stablecoins policy as well. So new rules, they're going to mandate public disclosure of reserves at least monthly. Now, this is where there's going to be some implications for Kaspa. And I had AI kind of analyze the regulations and sum it up for me so I don't have to read a bunch of things that are really over my head. So here's just a few little small bullet points. So it favors fair launch decentralized networks without issuers, which is Kaspa, as they can now be evaluated on technical and economic merits rather than needing regulatory pre-approval. Also, this highlights the need for technified compliance framework with live data reporting to bridge compliance gaps. And also, Kaspa's community efforts via Kaspa KII in engaging global financial hubs like the DIFC are positioning it for institutional adoption as regulations evolve towards innovation and decentralization. So that's just a summary of what this is. This is starting in 5 days. This is going to be a change that is happening in Dubai, which, as you all know, that's sort of the hub for money and energy and all of that. So this is why KII was probably mentioned here by AI. So this is news. If you guys want to know more, follow at Kaspa Intern. His name is Angel Puente Reyes, I believe is his full name. This is a report that he made, and he's been going really deep into this. So if you want to know more about that, there's a little information. And I want to just kind of shift and say hi to Kaspa Onion, who's now on the panel. How are you doing, Onion?
Oh, hello. How are you doing? It's good to hear from y'all.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I've been AFK and I'm just listening to all the updates. Sounds like there's a lot going on right now in Casper.
Yeah, man,
I really will.
you stepped away for a little bit, right? Catch some air, get away from
Yeah,
the echo chamber. That's good, man. That's healthy. That's needed from time to time, man. But yeah, great to see you. Great to have you on, brother.
you as well. You as well, man. It's an honor to be back listening and yeah, I see y'all's tweets and I love it. I love how passionate this community is 24/7. It's never going anywhere. So, I love it.
Hey, Juan, you want to hear another new one?
Bring it.
All right, you guys. We have testnet 12. If you want to be a part of that, and if you want to mine on testnet 12 to be a part of it, you can set up a faucet and do that with _commons. Follow Kaspa Commons and look through their post for January 4th, and there's a really good tweet that has some links to the link to the testnet document, the faucet, and basically instructions on how you can go ahead and set up your Rusty Kaspa using the new testnet 12. This is huge. I remember I was a part of testnet before. Really great to be a part of that and know that I was contributing towards making sure everything was running smoothly. So if anyone here who's with us live or listening later wants to be a part of that, you can help be a part of making sure the new updates to Kaspa with its upcoming hard fork, making sure that runs smoothly. You can be a part of testnet 12. And this would be a really great thing. It'd be so valuable to have you help us with making Kaspa run smoothly. And it really takes volunteers to use testnet 12, making sure everything is going exactly as planned. So that's a big one. That's new, and I'm really excited. I'm definitely going to be a part of that. Have you done any of the test nets, Onion or Juan?
I have not. What I'm doing though, I don't know if you're noticing though, Kara. I'm posting as you go and you make these updates. So I posted the Caspa keys warp core thing, and then you guys can see it right on the jumbotron from the Caspa the testnet 12. So it's up there for a quick link. So I'm going through and finding what you're talking about, and then just posting it on the space.
That's perfect. Can you also post it in the thread of the chat
Yeah,
itself?
100%. Yep, I'll do that.
You're awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so my understanding is the Caspa testnet 12 is running covenants. That's what makes it different. And developers, builders, testers, everyone's encouraged to dive in, experiment with all the new capabilities, basically stress test it. Try to break it. I see Odie. He's I hope he gets to try to break it. You know, Odie was instrumental in leading the pack in Caspa winning world records. So when it comes to stress testing, CryptoODI knows a thing or two about that. So yeah, and Odie, if you feel like joining us, feel free because I know you have a lot of experience with that. Yeah, so if anyone wants to connect or test or participate, or if you're like Odie and you want to try to break it, this would be the time to do that. Come into testnet 12 and stretch it as much as you can. You know, put that pressure on it. Because the thing is, we don't want it to go on the main net and break. We want to do that on the test net so that we can make sure it can handle whatever's thrown at it. So this is that time to really just throw everything you got. And you can get a faucet for those of you that have never done it. You basically get a faucet, and it's not a faucet from a sink. It's basically a digital faucet that drips money, but it's not real money. It's fake money that you can use. It's Caspa, but it's not money on the main net. So it's basically pretend money, and you can make as many transactions as you want on the test net as if it's real money without actually spending anything. So there's no risk. It's free. You know, there's nothing you have to worry about. It's actually just one of those things where you can tinker with Caspa and just play with it. So just keep that in mind. And it looks like we have a request. Yay, it's Odie. Odie, I want to hear what you have to say. I know Juan would love to as well. How you doing, Odie?
Fake money. That's how you confuse a no coiner. Say, well, it's Caspa, but it's fake money, and they say, well, why is it different? I
Thank you.
listen.
Explain.
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good. Explain this to people who listen to us who say that we're always talking over their heads. Can you explain what a faucet is?
Like we're five. Like we're five.
No, I was just joking, saying yeah, it's like fake money, and I was just thinking how like I've heard so many people call Kaspa and Bitcoin fake money, so I'm just like, you know, it's but the faucet is just it's just not hashed, and kind of follows the same rules once it's actually added to the supply, but there's not the same rules about the the supply and hard cap as in the same way that there is for our protocol. Actually, there might be a hard cap of 28.7 million or 28.7 billion still, but yeah, I mean, you can run the bot. You can run that same bot that we ran, the not the potato version, not the liberated potato, but it's called what is it called? Rothschild, and it's made by Ori Newman. So he was the original creator of that bot, and it's kind of intended to, just shoot crazy requests at the testnet 12. Is that what it is? 12?
Yeah, it's 12.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of interesting stuff, and it's actually a pretty conservative change, these covenants. So like
Do
Bitcoin
you know
has
anything about the covenants that you can share with us? Because I have not read too much into that.
covenants make things so much more fun. It's like, imagine if you had a wallet, but and you knew, hey, I'm gonna let somebody find my seed phrase, and then they find your seed phrase, and then they go, oh, I'm gonna steal Kara's Kaspa, but a covenant will allow it to, like, only a permissioned address that it can go to, that Kaspa. So it has to be sent, like, this is something you could set up. It sends that Kaspa only to one or two addresses, which I guess the word is whitelist. So it's a great security feature where nobody could even send that Kaspa to, their own wallet and steal from you, or something like not allowing more than 100,000 Kaspa to move every month. So let's say you have 3 million Kaspa, but you want 1 million to be allowed to be moved in 2028, and you want 1 million to allowed, like, you can lock these things in as kind of immutable new rules to your wallet. So that's what covenants allow, and that's just kind of scratching the surface. Yeah.
That's pretty dope. I hadn't heard it explained like that. I mean, I haven't looked into it that much, but to be able to program the way you want your money to move, and a security feature, right? Where if somebody happens to get your address, like you said, and tries to move it, that is so. I manage my entire family's assets, and I'm just thinking of so many ways that I could program that if
Oh, it's
I had
so,
that.
yeah.
Wow, that's super dope.
It's so good for the wrench attack, because even like, if you're kind of like a paranoid type and you think like, what if somebody, like, I don't know, kidnapped like a a child or something, it's like, and crypto is so much more susceptible to that type of thing. And in this type of scenario, um there's so many things where it would be like, even we don't have access to this money, and you can make that public knowledge that you're not even worth trying to attack, because if you wanted to move it, you couldn't even move it, if that makes any sense. Which is, it's a good thing that for like potential attackers to know, is for you to be able to show them that that money cannot move, whereas most times it's just like, well, hit the send button, but you can do things that takes it out of your own hands, which is necessary, actually.
Well, I had heard about a feature like that I heard it on a Bitcoin podcast. So does Bitcoin have that feature where, I mean, I heard that it does, where you can lock up and say, kind of speaking of what you're talking about, where I have this one Bitcoin and I don't want it. You can't touch it, can't move it, can't do anything with it until 2035 or 2045. You
Yeah.
can, yeah. So that's essentially what this is going to enable us to do with Caspa.
Yeah, they've been doing that for a long time with Bitcoin, and I'm pretty sure Jonathan wants to take it further. Like he wants to. I forget the examples that he was talking about. I know that having outgoing transactions that can only go to certain addresses are on his list of things that he finds valuable, and perhaps like a transaction limit, like a just like a just like a bank account, like a daily outgoing limit, being part of a wallet, kind of programmed in. So these are pretty cool things that, if as long as you can push that into the future a little bit, where you can't change the settings on a wallet until, or maybe they're permanent, or yeah, I need to dig a little bit more into that, but it's so much more practical in so many, in every sense. It makes it closer to being indistinguishable from like traditional finance, or superior and more convenient. Yeah.
FCAS, official Caspa community token, broke this down a little bit more, and I'm reading what they have said about covenants. And here's something interesting. So the way UTXOs worked before was you spend a coin, but now it can be spent in any way next. Scripts had no visibility into how they were being spent. But here's what changed. Covenants let a UTXO enforce rules on its future spending. With new introspection opcodes, a script can now inspect the spending transaction, verify outputs, amounts, and structure, approve the spend only if conditions are met. So, for instance, a coin can now say, I can only be sent to this address. I must go through multisig. I can only exit via an L2 bridge. I can't be spent until N blocks pass, or various other rules, and then the network guarantees those rules, which is really cool. And what this enables in Caspa, this user says, without EVM style smart contracts, but natively at the protocol level, native tokens, smart vaults, theft protection, congestion control, anti-spam, trustless L1 and L2 bridges, roll-ups, and state channels. Here's what it's not. It's not EVM. It's not an account model. It's not Caspa became Ethereum. It stays UTXO based. It's just more expressive. Here's why it's a big deal. You get smaller attack surface than EVM, logic verified by consensus, and it fits Caspa's scaling architecture, but scripting is harder, tooling is early, and value only comes with real adoption. So basically, it's infrastructure, it's not hype. Without covenants, tokens and L2s were impossible. Now they're possible, and adoption basically decides everything that's next.
Yep, that's essential. That's like you can't go forward without something like that.
Yeah, that's a
These
big deal. That's a big deal.
are
I did
so
not
good.
understand it that way, and this just it's super critical. Yeah, it's great. Go ahead, Kara.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me because these are things that I never studied. something about Kaspa makes me want to learn these things, but when I had Bitcoin, I didn't care. And with Kaspa, there's this sense of, oh, it can do this. What is that? What's a covenant? Right? And now I know terms I had no idea about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I'd never even heard that term. And here I am going, oh, here's a covenant. Let's find out more. So it's interesting every day learning these new things. And I love being a part of a community where other people are just as curious. It's so cool.
Yeah, Casp was this living organism that just continues to evolve. That's why for me it resonates, because that's what we are as. Just take a look at my life as an example. The past 7 years, like I've evolved. I'm 40. I'll be 45 this year, and It just aligns with how I live my life. Like I don't listen to, oh, you're. That's kind of how I relate it to Bitcoin. It's like, oh no, it's at a certain point, and I actually get now why it had to ossify on layer one and all that. But Caspa speaks more to a living organism, us evolving, continue to ask questions about how things are done, continue to build on it, and that's what the community speaks to. That's what the energy is within the community. That's what I feel resonates with everybody, no matter what side you're coming from. Right? It's just like there's opportunity here. It's not a finished product, right? It's like it launched, and there's these forks that are going to be needed to take it. It took it to 10 blocks and then 100 blocks, and yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. It's more aligned with how we are as people, evolving and getting better and better.
Absolutely. And the coolest or the interesting part to me is you could take something like evolution in crypto and be like, well, there's upsides and downsides. And what most chains get criticized for most by Bitcoiners is they'll call them like autistic savants or something, people that want to add features to a detriment of security. And that is such a incredibly fine line, a tightrope, a magic tightrope. That's why Caspa to me is so beautiful, because I'm much more of a conservative type than anything, and I always swayed towards Bitcoin, and then something like programmability. I mean, the covenants feel like something that the Bitcoiners would go, oh, that's excessive, but they have probably 80% of the features which are within. They might have all of the same features actually that are in these covenants. I'd have to look deeper into it, but the fact that Caspa is still so incredibly conservative, but it has this way of slithering its evolution with like while staying incredibly like watertight the whole way. That's where it's like something is really happening here, and I guess it's everybody's responsibility at the same time. And it's like the ethos of Caspa to stay Bitcoin centered, like when it comes to their like that's like that makes a lot of people want to barf, but like Bitcoin doesn't understand like obviously the need for L1 traffic, and that's their downfall. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but the evolution, yeah, it's amazing, but it's really awe-inspiring when you see it done in such a careful way, and you're like, this is gonna this is like watching a demigod. Like, I don't know. Sorry, that's the end of what I was gonna say there.
No, Odie, I can add to what you're saying. So, speaking to how Caspa feels more like a living organism, and then I brought up, okay, I just take a look at myself, right? I'm 44, I'll be 45 this year, but I am able to do things at my age because I went back and laid down a foundation for myself. So physically, right? I rebuilt myself starting 7 years ago. And because of that, I was able to evolve, myself physically, mentally, emotionally. right? So bringing that to how I relate it to Kaspa, you mentioned you're conservative. I want a little bit of security there too, but at the same time, I want to be able to have a foundation that's strong enough to know that, okay, do we need to pivot and move and evolve? And we always need to do that, but there needs to be a solid foundation. So that's kind of how I look at it, right? Like Bitcoin has that solid foundation. And that's why I said, okay, I understand why it ossified and did what it did, because that's what the technology was up to that point. But there were opportunities in its story to have a different culture, but the culture shifted and changed in the mid 2014s and 2017s, right? Then we had the block size wars and all that. And I look at all the altcoins or everything that's come after the block size wars and Caspa launching in 2021 as it's the free market telling the world and telling builders and people that are in this industry, like, no, things still need to be built, which leads into, and I'd love to get your guys' opinion on this. Jonathan, I don't know if Jonathan spoke about this, but or I saw it on a tweet or something like that. But speaking to how Jonathan's thinking about the people that are actually going to be using this technology, or not people, they're going to be the AI agents, right? So building an infrastructure, a structure for, the AIs are going to have to use. They're not going to use the system that's out here right now. That's going to be, and that's what I look at Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin is now becoming a tool within the current debt based system. And some people would, that the judgment for that's still out, because some people think like, oh no, you can't, Bitcoin is what it is and it's infiltrating and maybe it's a Trojan horse and maybe it changes everything from within. I could see that. But I also see that there needs to be, like Sailor speaks to this, like the AI, the robots, they're going to use Bitcoin. I'm like, well, how are they going to use Bitcoin if it's maxed out at 800,000 transactions on the base layer? So I don't see how that works. So I just see like this is obviously going to benefit humanity, but for what's coming, right? The AIs, all the things that are being built, how jobs are going to shift, how the economy is going to shift. We're going to get 100, 500 years of innovation in the next 5, 10, 15 years. We don't know what's coming. So that's how I see it. I'd love to get your guys' opinion on that.
I think the need is exactly what it will fill, and only that much. The thing that it can do 10 times better than anything that exists right now. When it comes to Kaspa Key is something that I initially was like thinking, it sounds too good to be true. There's something to all of, I don't know, I wasn't listening too much to Kaspa Key, but more recently I got into it, and I'm an electrician by trade, and I've worked a lot with distributed systems of high voltage, and when Kaspa Key is talking about how these wider spread electricity trading, high frequency trading needs to be done in a trustless way, because a lot of countries can't trust one another when it comes to like maybe China and then Europe and then Russia and Europe and then Africa, like all within one continent, sharing all of these brand new renewable energy projects and trying to transmit that energy around to one another. If Kaspa becomes the like oh, that's obvious, that's the tool that we must use, that is game over right there. That is game set match. And also I think it was KRC Bots was talking about something to do with like very important shipping messages and these industrial level things. Yes, Kaspa, based on some sort of stable coin behind it, and the stable coins will evolve as well, and that's where things get really, really exciting. and it's so much beyond all of us at that point. It's like, I don't know if you guys have heard about guys who trade electricity and trade energy, and firms that do that type of thing, but it's kind of like the thing you never hear about. It's no joke. It's very competitive, and it's very volatile, and it's kind of a cool industry, and there's a lot of corruption, I guess, and there's a lot of trust that and things that go wrong in it. So I'm just starting to understand and dive into what Kaspa Key is talking about, and I find that really cool.
Yeah, and something that they mentioned on when Rory was on there on Monday that I thought was super interesting, because I'm with you on that. It's just like, okay, yeah, I hear these companies talking about what they're gonna do. What are they actually doing? And fortunately, we get a chance to hear Rory on the spaces. Um, and it was, he came in towards the end of that, and it was kept everybody on for like another hour, and it was so the alpha that was shared there. But he mentioned that they've only publicly spoken about 5 projects that out of about 23 or so, I think is what he said. And that makes me, again, going back to what you said with the industry and trading within the industry. I'm not very familiar with that or how that works. But again, what it feels like is, okay, the foundation, again, the foundation is being laid so that Caspa truly is going to be the sequencer of all these tools that we're going to need for the future economy that's being built. So
If
people
it
aren't
can't,
even
yeah.
people aren't even going to be people aren't going to even know that they're using Caspa. So like the whole concept of, and Chad Rubar was the first person I heard say this, where powered by Caspa, right? I think that was an initiative that he talked about. But now I see that happening with everything that is being talked about and everything that's being built. So I do see that potentially being where this leads to, where it's just like people aren't going to know that they're using Caspa, but it's going to power everything. And that is, I'm getting goosebumps just hearing this shit come out of my mouth. But that's how I see it.
If Caspa is at 100 blocks per second, and there is a DEX that is built on top of it that has the same level of, I don't know how to explain it, but if it's similar to some of the highest quality DEXs that we see right now, and the Oracle proposition that Jonathan has talked about, the MEV resistance is valid within that 100 BPS construct, that is exactly what these energy people are looking for. And the funny thing about like electricity trading is that you can't save electricity, and everyone wants to sell their electricity because when they're not using it, they need a buyer, and or else it just goes to waste. So it's like speed of light with the speed of light trading with the speed of light, and that would be very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So I
just
have
want to pick.
16-bit.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to introduce you. 16-bit is now on the panel. So yeah, go ahead. You have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of what you guys were talking about as far as the key goes. I've heard a lot of FUD and people kind of feeling frustrated with, Caspa and where it is. And I've seen a lot of people flooding key, and I think everybody really needs to take the time to do the research and go and Google Desert D and navigate to the partners tab of their official website, and you will be blown away at their partners. People like Shell, Siemens, Bosch. These are some of the biggest names in the energy sector you can possibly imagine. So anybody flooding Kaspa Key isn't really understanding how large an organization it really is.
That's
where
true.
that's where I just
Yeah.
realized I had this weird taste in my mouth. I thought a lot of the stuff was too outlandish or something, so I never really looked. And then now that I'm looking, and I've heard to some some of the things that were being said, I'm like, well, even if Rory has even if he had a tendency to, stretch the truth, if it's anything even like close, and I don't believe he's stretching the truth at this point. I really believe that there are people who are eyeing this particular thing up because it does fill a need. So that's pretty special.
Yeah, I get all the fatigue going on. Everybody's kind of frustrated with price, but I really think that's kind of secondary to what's actually being built in the long term. Maybe I'm completely biased. I think maybe a lot of us may have a little bias, but as far as what's being built out right now, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Did you hear what Key said, that Kaspa could replace the decades-old SS7 telecom systems for settling international roaming of calls, text, and data? And I think Rory said something about how this could be beneficial for espionage. So I just want to throw that out there. I think that's really cool. KII was asking about who's using the Graphene OS, which is this OS you can put on your Google Pixel phone to basically sandbox Google and all the apps so that you're using something that gives you extra privacy. I thought that was really cool. But I do want to just briefly mention that since we're talking about these new projects that are happening, I think all of us need to be vigilant of anyone claiming to be someone they're not. So if you run across anyone that's scamming or phishing, or if there's a bug or there's some theft going on, there is the CaspasSecurityCenter.com that was developed so that you can report any abuse or anything like that, so you can be aware of who to steer clear of. And this was created by Caspero Labs. And I'll put a link to this in our chat here. Again, that's CaspasSecurityCenter.com. We are talking a lot about a lot of new projects. We also want to be sure that we're dealing with the most legit possible. So if there's anything that's that smells funny, say something, and you can read any reports on that site to report any incidents. I just wanted to throw that out there. Onion, I haven't heard from you in a minute. Do you have any thoughts on any of this?
I'm just listening to y'all, listening to the news. I love this. Y'all are pretty much saying everything and answering questions. I'm just a fly on the wall for this. So yeah, I love Kaspa. I love Kaspa.
What if somebody's requesting $26 and they said they're going to give me 1 hash rate, which will pay me Kaspa, but it's indefinite? It never ends.
Are you talking about a script that does this?
There's a guy, he had an app, and he said, hey, and he popped up on a chat, Spaces, and I forget. Onion will know. Maybe he can explain this better, but he's going, listen, I have this app. Sounds like some dude from Africa. He's going, hey, he's got a pretty thick accent. And he's saying, and the app looked like kind of professional. He's saying, if you come in and you sign up, there's a $27 fee. You take and then you will get 1 hash rate. And we were asked. I said, how much is 1 hash rate? And he said, well, you'll get 1 hash rate, and then you'll get the Kaspa. It'll continue coming, and then we probably talked for like 40 minutes before Kaspa Warrior started screaming that he was a scammer. and he like had this big blow up, and it was right when we were doing the world record.
So is it some sort of cloud mining service he's trying to promote or something?
Yes, but we asked him what kind of miners he was using, where he got the mine, and buy a hash rate. Didn't even say 1. He said a hash rate, and then you would just get the hash rate. And we said, for how long? And he said, forever.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah, that sounds like a scam, to be honest with you.
It was really funny because he also made up a USDT coin, and we said, where did this USDT like come from? And then he's going, well, it's just USDT, you know, like a stable coin. And we're like, Kaspa doesn't even have these. And then he's like, well, they do now. It was pretty fun. I mean, like I give that guy props because he was trying his best, and I could tell he threw it together quick. But but we kind of understood just because of he was selling cloud mining, but he didn't understand mining enough. And I swear, if his pitch was just, if he could have just told us the type of computers he was using, a couple other things, but it was a pretty funny moment. And Kaspa Warrior really like,
He sounds like a Nigerian prince of some kind.
it. It was a pretty thick accent. But I mean, like, all the power to him. If you can pull one over, I mean, that if that's your jam, I say go for it. If somebody falls for it, then that's what happens. That's what that new thing is all about, by the way, that new regulation you were talking about earlier. What was it
The
called?
Dubai one?
Yeah, DFSA. They basically said, you know what? They took the decentralization out of permitting what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. They said, you know, this is pre-approved. Usually it was pre-approved, like an approved token list, right? And they said, fuck that list. We're going to let everybody decide what they think is like a applicable thing, and we're going to put the responsibility into the investors' hands instead of trying to hold everybody's hand and us deciding what's centralized, what's not centralized in a centralized way. So, yeah.
You know, CryptoODI, or I shouldn't say Odie, but for those that may want to follow you that are listening that can't see your name, it's at CryptoODI. That's who was just talking. Odie, earlier you mentioned KRC bot, and I just wanted to throw this out there. He kind of blew Michael Sutton's mind earlier this week when testnet 12 came out. KRC bot went ahead and made an NFT using VProgs and gave him the code, showed him what it looked like, and Michael put this funny looking smiley face because he was impressed by it. I thought that was really cool.
I never know what KRC bot is up to. And if you try to ask him, he'll give you an answer that leaves you a little bit more confused, but a little bit more curious.
I talk to him every day, and I'm learning so much from him. It's the highlight of my day to learn what he's working on.
I love him too.
I
but
think he lets
just
you
has
in,
this,
Cara, on a little bit more than the rest of us. That's what I think.
it's
yeah.
he's pretty inconspicuous with I'll go, so just explain this part, and then he'll kind of answer my question with something that's a little bit adjacent, and then saying like, here's, it's something bigger. You're almost asking the right question. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
That's exactly how it feels. Yes,
Yeah.
right there.
He's going to be launching his open source Explorer very, very soon. I'm going to edit it tomorrow and go through it with a fine-tooth comb and look for any mistakes or errors. And then after that, I think that's when he's going to go ahead and launch it. So it's very close to being done. I've seen it in the back end, watching it being made, and it's going to be my go-to Explorer. I'm super excited about it. I've never seen anything at this level. He's always working on something. He's been doing VProgs before it was even discussed ever by Michael Sutton. And so I wrote Michael today and I said, dude, you've got to talk to KRC bot. You guys have got to get to know each other, man. I actually lit a fire under Michael's ass. I said, please please just talk to him, man. You guys need to know each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
just said the same thing to Jonathan.
I wonder how many of these explorers are actually open source because of that cas.fyi thing. It was like, well, shouldn't cas.fyi have been source all along? If this fellow, I forget what his name was, but if he's going to close it, it's like you're just going to keep it to yourself. And I don't know what happened exactly, but it just feels like if you're going to give up on running a server, just give away the code and let somebody else do it. That seems like a
Last
obvious
I heard,
thing.
he was asking for a large amount of money for somebody to take the code from him.
Billion.
$10 billion.
Which I really don't understand. Like, why would you work on something for that long and then just kind of shelve it? Wouldn't you rather just see it continue on, let somebody else take the torch? I just don't get that.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, he was feeling that he wasn't being respected by the community, and in a way, maybe I played a small role in that, but I never had a lack of respect for him. But I did call him out on censorship, and it was never my intention to make him feel disrespected because I have a lot of respect for him. But I think he started feeling that his choices were being questioned by the community for his decisions to put something or not put something online. And so he took a break and came back and said, basically, F it. If you guys want this, pay out the butt for it. And that's kind of what happened. But I never saw any lack of respect from anyone. I just think that because he was forking his own money and putting his own time into this and it was expensive, and for people to question that made him go, hey, how dare people question me? So you're going to pay a lot if you want this. And as a result, he left, but then other explorers popped up. And that's the nature of decentralization. So people have made other explorers, and it's sad to see someone go. It's
How
sad to see that this happened to begin with.
how expensive can that be? I don't know. That's what I'm getting more technical, and then I'm more understanding as time goes on. But how expensive could it be to run an Explorer?
So it depends on the explorer, but from the people that I talked to about that, they were estimating that he was probably spending 3,000 to 4,000 a month.
How? Like on
I
what?
mean, I'm not into the technicals on that, so I'm not entirely sure, but apparently there's a lot of hidden cost that goes to running certain things. I
I
mean,
think if
KRC bot's going to be doing it, so you
I
know
think
that
if
it's going
you
to take a
I think
lot.
if you take somebody's time and let's say they want to add updates or add new tokens to their KRC20 list because you have constant applications where the application usually looks something like send your Twitter profile, send your send like your Telegram profile, and then send the token, the picture that you want, and then we'll update the picture for you. So he had to kind of stay on top of people updating things. So in a sense, you could say he was maybe calling it a full-time job because there was these KRC 20 or the NFT, I forget what those are called, the I don't know, but whatever that is that makes an NFT. If you try to keep up to date with that, yeah, you're going to be spending like maybe 30 minutes, an hour every day, just like taking in people's applications and then hitting okay, 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 okay. And, but when it comes to actual server cost, running the node cost, there, I can't fathom it being more than, I don't know. I couldn't even see it being more than
Well,
$100.
well, that's if it was using regular web hosting or whatever. That's how much it usually costs. But and I don't know anything about this. It's just what I remember hearing. There's apparently hidden cost beyond the manual labor of just saying okay, okay, okay. There's this this other thing of pulling information from, I guess there's third parties that handle certain API loads or something like that.
Right.
And again, I'm not sure where they're all coming from, but a lot of them have monthly costs. But I don't know. I'm not the one.
Well,
You have your hand up.
sounds like Onion has something to say. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I briefly was in a space when we talked about this, I think, and I could be wrong, but from what I heard, a lot of the costs I think come from, I think just because of how fast Kaspa is, and there's so much data that has to be displayed at such a fast rate. Like it's that basically to keep up with the DAG, doing that is expensive. Whereas if you and to stay in sync. And I think also what Caro's saying is to do it at such speeds, I think the APIs also required are probably maybe expensive. So I don't have a full answer, but I'm pretty sure it's just the sheer Kaspa super fast, but infrastructure to display it to people, eyeballs on your computer, getting those two to talk to each other, that's what's expensive. Just because literally Kaspa is like alien technology essentially. So getting them to talk to each other at the same speed, I think, is why it can be so expensive. But don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that.
It only took you a couple
So
seconds
basically,
to think
Odie, your
all.
world record put him out of business.
Well, I would say my retort to that would be just look at Kaspa NG, right? And anybody could host Kaspa NG, and we all know that it works on our computer. And I would not say like the world record, that was something like nobody was keeping up. There's something fundamental when it comes to indexing that needs to be overhauled, and I don't think hardware cost is the answer. I don't think we should be looking towards I don't even think that could fix what happened during the world record, but um I do feel like if you can run Kaspa NG and you can host that on a website and mirror your computer, then running something like CastS.FYI would be of the similar nature of a load. But yeah, I'm not a computer expert, so if other people have to access what you're putting onto the web server, onto the domain, it might change things a bit, but I just don't buy that $3,000 to $4,000 number unless it's, I don't know, emotional suffering and pain or something.
Odie, you're probably right, honestly, because Kaspa NG, yeah, literally the fact that exists and they're not complaining about, yeah, it's probably not as expensive as we think, but who knows?
So if I can, I'd like to sort of shift to the next project that's new that just came out this year, so we can just kind of give a little more exposure to these different builders and developers that are making things. BitCat has been working on a project called Chain Signals. He talked about this just 2 days ago. Basically, what it does is it allows you to post trading signals on chain on Kaspa, layer 1, which the app then aggregates and ranks. So the main idea is it gives traders a standardized way to express their market views in a clear, immutable, and unambiguous manner, while at the same time providing their followers with an easy tool to assess their performance. So no more it can go up but also down, and then cherry picking or deleting tweets after the facts. So you can try it at chainsignals.net. You'll need MetaMask to post signals as the app runs on Casplex. So I guess that's not layer 1. It says on chain. Well, it says Casplex, but it says you can easily bridge Cas from the app. So I guess this will be an L2. It's still a very first version, so he says expect some bugs and glitches, and he says hopefully not too many, and report them to him. So if you want to report to him or follow him or learn more about this, follow at MaxiBitCat, MaxiBitCat. So Chain Signals is a brand new project just released this year. So if anybody wants to get involved with that, Feel free. Does anyone here on the panel know about that or have heard about it or used it or anything like that?
I've heard of it. I have not used it. I'm not a big trader, but I did see the post he made a couple of days ago about
I just copied Nancy Pelosi.
it.
Onion was a big trader for a while. Have you heard of this, Onion?
Oh no, I actually haven't heard of this. This is new to me. I'm looking it up right now. I'm on their website, just taking a look.
Yeah, so I love these new projects. You know, we've got Warp Core and Testnet 12 and new regulations in Dubai and this Signals thing, and of course the new Kaspa Security Center, which actually came out in October. But I wanted to bring it up today because that website actually shows how many reports are made every month. And since we're in January, it starts over again. So there's been 0 scams reported this month, 0 phishing schemes, 0 theft, right? So if there is something, it's good to put it on there so people can know for January, hey, watch out for these guys. Because like Odie said, you might have someone trying to sell you hash rate forever. You just never know who you might run into. So we want to make sure that people have a chance to distinguish between what's legit and who might be pretending to be someone. There's a lot of people that masquerade as influencers to try to gain your trust. So that's why I wanted to mention that. And there's a link to that in our chat. Juan, do you have any thoughts or anything you'd like to add on any of these?
No, we're good.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
just
putting it up
actually
on the
recently
jumbotron
getting
as well.
around to using Cassia, which has been functioning very well for me. I don't know if any Cassia users are here, but it's been
Send me
working
a
really good.
handshake. Send me a handshake, 16-bit. Juan.cas.
Juan.cas. I'm 16bit.cas.
All right.
I'll
That
shoot you a
easy.
handshake. Yeah,
Yeah, I used to talk to Silver on there, but yeah, I haven't spoken to too many people on there. Chad's on there
for
too.
sure.
But yeah, we should start using that. Start using all these.
Absolutely, man. And that's what I made a post yesterday. It was like we really need to start using Caspa, otherwise it's just another number go up widget, and that's not what this
Well,
project is
you know
about.
what? Speak to that, brother. I saw your post about creating more of a, and I liked it. I do think that we need to start talking more about that, like creating a more of a Caspa ecosystem and
Well,
us
I had
using each
an
other.
idea. I'm not much of a developer, but I feel as though Caspa kind of needs like a Fiverr type platform where we can start, creating that circular kind of, payment system amongst one another. So I don't know, maybe a classified ads sort of thing. I'm trying to
Wasn't
sell.
there?
Somebody
Yo,
made a comment underneath
we
the post that I made. They were trying to sell vinyl. They'll accept Caspa for their old vinyl.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
something like that.
yeah.
that is so much.
Wasn't there a
That's
project called Proof of Works or something like that that was somewhat like a Fiverr?
right. Yeah.
Whatever happened? Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. I haven't seen anything about it,
I think there may
but
have
I'm
been.
with
I
you.
must have missed that one.
I think it's called Proof of Works. It's like a Fiverr alternative, and I could be wrong. I think it's the same people that are making Vivor. Um, so I think their just priorities are probably on that, and I think they're also working on a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, that's in the works. Hopefully, it comes out soon. But
Well,
Interesting. I'll
this
have to check
is
that out because I'm really interested in using Caspa because I feel as though if we don't start using Caspa, if we're all just sitting here circle jerking and talking about Caspa and just not using it, like we're just gonna end up with another, bunch of group of people that are hoping that the price goes up, and that's just not what Caspa's about.
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
but
with you, my man. I'm with you.
this group.
I'm with you. I use. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this group of people all is fully aware that price go up won't even fix the problem that we need to be fixed, and I think there's this like we have this understanding more than any other chain that we're like we need to disrupt we need to disrupt like other existing things. And I think I've always said it before this, like in my at the end of my videos I'll always add a little tag that's a Lynn Alden thing that shows in order to disrupt a current network, the new competitor must be 10 times better. And when I think about something like, Fiverr or these other network sharing, service sharing platforms, that's tough for me to see that 10x. I'm looking at it and I go, I don't know. Because with Kaspa, you lose the ability to be an intermediary between disputes. I struggle. I'm totally open to have the conversation and be proved wrong, but I love to see the 10x being like that. That's a blowout. It's obvious that Kaspa is better for this particular thing, but a Fiverr based on Kaspa will be you and just trust on the other side, and then the people, and then I guess like a reputation system. But there will be no middlemen. I don't think. I don't know. I want to hear you guys' opinion on that.
Well, I want to throw this out there because this bridges what you just said with anything that what anyone else could say, which is if we're going to build something, if we're going to have middlemen, if we're going to have anything that we want to create to have adoption, I want to encourage everyone to join the Caspathon. Registration is open now. Go to caspathon.com and you can begin building any project on Kaspa starting January 16th. The submission deadline is February 15th, and everything's going to be judged in basically middle to end of February. So if you want to help build a Fiverr based on Kaspa, powered on Kaspa, if you want to build anything, be a part of this Kaspathon, be a disruptor. I believe that the price is inevitably going to go up because it's not something I'm really thinking about right now as much as a lot of other people. And it's because of what's going on with KII and IGRA Labs, knowing that VPROGS is coming up and knowing that all these energy companies are going to be being involved with all these projects. When that starts coming to fruition, that's when we're going to inevitably have more adoption. But like Odie said, if we have a Fiverr based on Kaspa, that's going to really pull people together. But that takes builders, that takes people who are interested in developing. So I wanted to throw Kaspathon out there as a plug, just real quick. But if anyone has any thoughts on what Odie just said, feel free to respond.
Well, I definitely think a reputation-based system is going to be very important. Like you said, there's going to be no middleman to try to, keep that whole system honest. But, again, I'm not a developer. I don't really have all the answers, but, something similar to like an eBay, a reputation system where you can, hey, I did a good transaction with this guy. Maybe it cost you to put in that review, keep all of the reviews honest. If you have to spend a little bit of Kaspa to even post that review, or I really don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but
Yeah, I eBay had an amazing track record for a trust-based system. It did fall out of the loop in like with the test of time, but disputes happen, and I don't think that's something that we really would have to worry about. I'm talking really specifically. Like I really like to get into, okay, if our competition was Fiverr, or let's say our competition was OnlyFans, or some like if our competition was something, the only real advantage that we have is the spread, the profit that is taken by the person who says, you know what, we'll regulate your dispute as insurance. If you give us a little bit of evidence and we can see that they didn't deliver exactly what you were asking for. Well, I'm talking more about Fiverr at this point. They didn't deliver what you were asking for, but they still got your money for it. Then, or I think with Fiverr, a more applicable thing is they delivered what you were looking for, but the person never paid, because you always kind of pay after with Fiverr. Somebody gives you the service, they go, how was it? Do you like this baseline? Do you like this like graphic? Do you like this the other thing? And you go, you know what? Yeah, here you go. Here's the money. And there's a lot of disputes. But the thing that Kaspa would have the advantage on is that I don't know how much Fiverr takes, but I think they probably take 30%, 40% of the money that's being given in the exchange. So I just really like to play the games that I know we're gonna win at, and they exist. I'm not, and I still need to be kind of swayed that we have that. I don't know. I still need to look at this particular one. Anyone else have some stuff to
Yeah,
say?
just let me just going straight to that point, Onion, and then you can jump in. I just wanted to say, as far as disputes go, you could definitely have some sort of escrow systems, like a smart contract that both parties, have to agree that everybody's needs were met before the funds would be released, or something like that. But again, just spitballing. But if anybody out there is a developer, I really think that would be extremely helpful to get uh the actual utility of Caspa off of the ground, get us to all start creating that circular system that, yeah, pay one another to, yeah, you get what I'm saying.
I just want to mention I've actually used Fiverr to pay people for stuff, and usually there have been times where I'll need some software made. I'll go to the same person over and over, and after I trust someone on Fiverr and they've delivered good stuff, like I do my work with them in chunks. I'll be like, all right, $300, do this task. $300, do the next one. I break up my projects in chunks, and what's interesting is that usually after the second chunk or so, the developer will say, hey, like Fiverr's taking a big cut. You and me kind of trust each other. Do you want to broker this deal? You want to broker the next deals outside of Fiverr? And then I have to get their number. I have to get their Telegram. And that's actually kind of a mess because I'm now using Telegram, which is fine, or my phone number, but I've had to download banking apps and I've had to trust that they're not going to rug me because we're now leaving the Fiverr platform. We're leaving all that protection, all that insurance, I guess, because of the fee. The developer, they're looking to avoid paying that 30%, so they want to do the side work. They want to do the business outside of the Fiverr ecosystem, so they get that cut. But what's weird is in this process, I've had to download a banking app, get an ID and put the ID and like KYC, all that crap, and convert my dollars to whatever country they're from. It's a whole nightmare from my end if I want that discount. And there's conversion fees. So for me, it's not even a bit like, anyway, the idea is there's people on Fiverr that I think like, it's not like I don't want to say proof of works has to be better than Fiverr, but I think maybe proof of works might be a good landing place for the people who want to do side work outside of Fiverr after rapport has been built, right? After there's someone that you trust, you meet them on Fiverr, you've done a couple stuff with them, but you still want some infrastructure in place to manage payments, messaging, all that stuff. It's still works and Fiverr can complement each other. They maybe don't have to exactly compete. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
I think you just blew my mind there a bit. Like you opened the door to a new concept of trust assumption. Like once people have gotten past the place of being anonymous, that's where these things become. That's where this becomes way more convenient, way more cost effective. All those things.
Yeah, and I have an opinion on this. So, kind of tying in what everybody's saying, what I think ends up happening, we're operating in a free market within Caspa. So, creating these apps, having the builders build, putting all this stuff out there is super critical to seeing how the market's going to respond to it. So some of this stuff, like maybe proof of works is a little too early. And then speaking of what you're talking about, Odie, you're saying, okay, it needs to be 10 times better than its competition. And in a free market, the market tells you what's going on, and then just hearing what Onion's saying about his experience. Yeah, there's probably opportunity there, but can there be adoption within proof of works? Maybe that's not where Caspa um, has its value proposition right now. And then for me, like it ties into what Key is doing, right? And think about how they're approaching the market, and 5 projects out of 23, and they're playing the long game. So I think again, going back to what is Caspa? What is it going to do? And it's the sequencer of the world. It's going to sequence a brand new circular economy, and some of these projects are going to be early, and they may be used. They just might, again, just maybe a little bit too early to the market. So that'll provide an opportunity for somebody else to come out with a competition for proof of works. So I think that's just the way it works within a free market. We're getting a little taste of that. But then tying back to what 16-bit says, what can we do? I'm really big about this. Like, what can we do today? Right. And then I see my man, is Bishop still down there? You're still with us. So I always tell Bishop, like, okay, is Caspa adopted in your family? Like, do your does your kid have it? Does your wife have it? Have you made a little circular economy within that you need to adopt it first? And I can tell you, I pay my barber every single. Well, I'm going to be traveling quite a bit, but I paid him every single Friday, Saturday whenever I get my beard trimmed up. He gets paid in Caspa. The masseuse, she would get paid every other week whenever I'd go get. Um, so I think that's a part of it, and then again, just looking at where we're super early to this, and it's exciting all the things that are happening. And it's important that we keep throwing things out. We keep throwing things out and seeing what is going to stick, what's not going to stick. But I'm with you, Odie, on where does Casper provide that value proposition where it's 10 times better? And being the truth layer, the sequencer for truth, that's where I think it's at. Go ahead, Kara.
Agreed.
I love what you just said, Juan. And you're right. We need to keep throwing these things out. I want to throw a few things out. Bishop just made a post in our chat saying that Caspa Marketing has casmart.org. That's a decentralized marketplace where you can buy and sell items with Caspa, so you can check that out. Also, if anyone listening wants to know what Cassia messaging is, it's a P2P encrypted messaging service. It's also in the Google Play App Store now. This just came out. So links to those are in our chat. And also, in addition to encrypted messaging, we now have K-Social. So that's k-social.network. I put a link to that in the chat as well, which is basically an alternative to X. So if we have people listening who are into free speech and freedom, and you want to be able to say what you want, whether it's just to one person or to the world, you have options for that with Caspa. So these are new projects that have come out since we have last aired on our last episode, because we took a 2-week break. We have K-Social, we have Cassia Messaging, which has been out, but one thing about Cassia Messaging is that they updated so that they're now on the Play Store, and Cassia also integrated Cassia Messaging. So there are more ways to use Cassia Messaging besides what has been out. There's more wallets now starting to integrate. So I just wanted to throw that out just real quick.
Can I also add to that Cassia messaging and what they've built, to me, that has the 10x right there. I see it in so much of the permissionlessness and the finality of the way these messages are being sent. The 10x, if I do see it there. And I know that I've sounded a little bit like pessimistic with some of the stuff I said earlier, but I really do with that one as well, along with many other things. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really blown away at how well it's been functioning. My only complaint is really the notification system. It doesn't really have a really good way to trigger notifications, at least on Android. I actually jumped in their Discord server and had a little chat with one of the developers, and he was trying to explain it's really difficult to do notifications, I guess, in a trustless way on the back end. So he said it's on their roadmap, but it's like a long-term goal, I think.
Just gonna spitball something here. Let's say it makes it onto Google Play, makes it onto the App Store on Apple. The marketing opportunity for this at that moment, what is the marketing? It's, hey, your messages are held encrypted at Signal. They're held encrypted at WhatsApp. Would you rather have that, or would you rather have it being held encrypted in a place that no one that no it's in 1,000 places at once? Um, that's a completely different level of quality. It's a completely different level of, like, everything that's going on with Casia is just, it's S tier when everything else is B tier right now.
Yeah, the encrypted messaging kind of speaks to, a niche community. I think people who are really hardcore as far as being completely encrypted. And the people that are using these apps are, I think, they're really sacrificing a part of that by trusting this third party. Signal says they're not actually holding anything, and Telegram says they're not storing any data or whatever, but you still have to trust that they're not. And I think a lot of people who use these types of apps just aren't into trust. So I think that's a huge marketing advantage that Cassie is going to have over some of these other apps that this community is using.
Yeah, we'll just go for the drug dealers, go for the, like, gangs, go for the revolutionaries, go for the, like, I don't know, wherever we can get it. It's a 10x for them. We're just going for the people that, if it's a 10x to somebody, we give it to them.
Well, Bitcoin got its start, it's really big jump as far as the use case of Silk Road. So, if that's where it has to start, that's where it has to start, but it doesn't have to end there.
It's, yep.
All right, so I want to kind of just shift a little bit here because, like I said, throughout this show, I want to just kind of throw more and more new projects. And so I have another one. So I don't know if you guys have heard about Spectre Market. I'm going to put this link into our chat. This was posted by fullface_69. He says Igra Labs L2 is fast approaching. One development that he's excited for is Spectre Market. The team behind Casper Coin is live on testnet, and as soon as Igra Labs launches, they're going to launch as well. So what they've launched is basically an NFT marketplace and a launch pad for NFT projects. And the projects will launch on Spectre. Those that are launched on there are going to be eligible for staking within the platform for revenue sharing. So I'm going to post this in the chat. And I also want to mention, speaking of NFTs, the Pac-Man NFTs, I know they also have this L2 token. I'm kind of going off for a minute. The Pac-Man NFTs, they made 3 of them, and I think there's 99 available. And this past weekend, I saw a Fiftus Pac-Man coin. I don't the NFTs and the memes are pretty cool. If anybody knows about Pac-Man, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But something like that would be really cool for this NFT marketplace. Or if anyone wants to make an NFT and get involved in revenue sharing with staking, this is going to go live. But you can actually check out the website now. It's already up. And as soon as Igra Labs launches, they're going to do this. So if you want to be a part of that Igra Labs testnet for Spectre Market, that's already going on right now.
So I'm kind of confused, and excuse my ignorance on what Casper coin is, but so the marketplace is called Spectre and it's being built on Egra Labs, but where does Casper come in?
So it's made by the same team that made Casper
Ah,
coin.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Casper
Interesting.
the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I've been working on an NFT project for quite some time now that I do plan on dropping at some point. So
So put the link to
I
this
don't
in
know
there.
exactly where it's gonna go, and that's something I've been considering, and I don't know if I want to do it on, Casplex, or maybe wait and hold off for Eager Labs, or wait the even longer term for, VProgs. But yeah, I do have something that I've been working on for almost 6 months now, to be exact.
16-bit, I'm going to throw an opinion out there, and it's an unpopular opinion, but I do not think you should launch it now. I think you should wait until Igra Labs or VProgs, because in my opinion, Casplex is as close to Lightning Channel as you can get. I'm just, I don't know. I'm kind of biased. I kind of would like to see something a little better, but it's your NFT. But if it were me, I would wait. That's just what I would do.
I think I hold this unpopular opinion as well, to be honest with you.
Oh, that makes me happy actually. But I went ahead and posted the link to Spectre Market if you do want to check it out, because when Igra Labs launches what they're doing next, this this might actually be a good avenue. So I would just look at it, do your research, see if it's a good fit for you or not.
For sure, I appreciate the information.
I never saw Onion leave. I don't see him on the panel.
He's not allowed to do that either. We got to go find him. Where's he at?
I'll go get him.
Thank you. He's gonna be grounded when he gets back.
Odie, have you ever made any NFTs or tinkered with any of that?
Sorry. Yeah. I just had an idea, but like it was extremely inappropriate when it came to NFTs. I remember hearing Michael Saylor talking about or was it Michael Saylor? It couldn't have been. Somebody who was it was Michael Saylor, I think. He was talking about the backs of watches. You have an extremely expensive watch. You take a microscopic photo of the back of the watch in order to get like, oh, this is what the material looks like on that watch from a microscopic level, which is like a fingerprint, and then you NFT that. And now I'm thinking, can this be done for nudes?
Did you say nudes?
Yeah. um no, I haven't. And it's outside of my current interest currently, but with that new idea, maybe.
I definitely think NFTs have a way bigger utility, far beyond, a cute little cat picture or whatever. I think as far as maybe official paperwork on the chain goes, or something like that, or on the DAG rather. I think that's a way bigger utility that a lot of people overlook. And when people think NFT, they automatically think, some avatar project or whatever. I think that's just what's popular now, but I think in the long term, I think NFTs are going to find a way more useful utility in the long run.
I'm
I
still
remember
learning.
Casmi. Can we get Casmi on here, because he's doing utility with this? And he just put out what, trading cards with this. Casmi, if you want to come talk about utility and NFTs,
Yeah,
we'd love to have you up
we
here.
would. He's actually Casim's the one that's gotten me to open my eyes to that. And speaking of NFTs, I want to shout out Trulia. Thank you for that NFT. I think it's this one that I just got with a heart, so I appreciate that. I just had an NFT sent to me to Juan.cast, so
I mean,
thank you
one
for
thing I
that.
do remember during the big NFT boom, of 2022 or whenever it was when NFTs just went absolutely crazy. I remember car companies like BMW were talking about putting like their odometers and stuff like that on a chain in order to verify mileage for cars and things of this nature. I think that's where NFTs should go rather than
Yep.
staying in this avatar space or,
Do you think
uh, diplomas or things like this. I think that's going to be a better use case for verification.
Yeah,
I was going to
something.
ask?
Sorry, go on. Go on, Juan.
No,
Sorry.
I was just going to ask, and maybe you can answer this and go with it. I was just going to ask, like, because again, like with me, I love what Casmi's doing. I'm interested to hear what he has to say. And for me personally, it's just like I just hold Kaspa. The only NFTs I have are what people gift me. But I do see some of the utility, like what Wolfie's Bar, how he's using it with his clients. I was in London and kind of understood that a little bit more. Do you guys think that it was just because I remember that boom, but I wasn't really around or paying attention? Do you think that NFTs were just like too early and the market just isn't ready for it yet?
I think the utility, like the 10x utility, is hiding somewhere really obvious, and it's something that it's going to be oh fuck duh, like the odometer thing. I don't know if it quite covers the edge cases of like when somebody rolls back their mileage and you're trying to buy a used car and you get nervous. You know that when you're buying a used car and you go, what if it's not 15,000 kilometers, and your heart starts to go, and like there's something that needs to be done. That's and can that be fixed by NFTs? Would that have to, and for me, I'm like, maybe. Like it would have to be coordinated with your oil changes, perhaps, or it'd have to be coordinated with something, but that could really fix a problem there. And other things that make you go, why can't we, like, why can't I verify this? The struggle points in society. If I feel like NFTs will find their way to be right in that utility sector, and being able to just verify trustlessly something that usually takes a lot of trust.
Odie, you back to KRC bot for a minute because he's building a utility token, or I don't even want to call it a token because he's just using the protocol. But it's a KRC20, and so people assume it's a meme coin, but it's utility. And so when people see it's 100% pre-mine, people go, "Oh, I mean not pre-mine, but it's pre-mine." They go, "Why is this pre-mine? Is this it would be pre-minted, right? It wouldn't be mined, it'd be minted, right? If it's on KRC20." I'm getting that confused. But because it's 100% and he has all of it, he's allocating it to these different wallets, these millions of businesses. He's getting heat from people who aren't familiar with it, and it's utility. We're actually seeing utility, and the more I learn about what it's going to do with AI and how it's going to affect all these businesses, it's basically Chat GPT, but for businesses, Chat TBD, the business directory. And it's, in my opinion, the biggest utility that is underrated. I don't think people realize just how valuable the potential for this is. And it's what I've got my eyes
I
on.
think that it very very well could fall under that category. With one of the videos that I made, it kind of was one of the more successful videos. I said at the end, I said Schrodinger quote, which was like, talent hits a target that no one else can hit, genius hits a target that no one else can see. But something funny about being a genius is that, or if it is, it's not always ideas that people don't understand that are genius ideas. Sometimes they just don't work, or sometimes they're genius ideas, but if they're too far out of the pure purview, like something like distributing a pre-mined KRC20 token to thousands of wallets in preparation for some AI, like I'm grossly generalizing what he's doing, but the fact that I can't quite see it, I'm not going to dismiss it quite yet or anything like that. I do have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth when it comes to pre-mined stuff because I haven't seen it work yet. You know what I mean? But that's the only comment I would say on that.
Hey guys, I was rugging pretty bad a moment ago, but Happy New Year to all of you guys, and I like that you have a new time. It seems like you had a really great turnout a little bit earlier by adjusting the time. So that was a power move.
Adjusting to what?
They adjust. I might still be rugging, but they adjusted the time. It used to be, I think it was like 10 p.m. and
Yeah,
now
we
it's
were on at
9
10.
p.m.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons why I couldn't participate. It was getting a little too late for me, so having it a little earlier is definitely helpful, I'm sure, for a lot of people.
Well, we appreciate the immediate feedback. Yeah, we made the suggestion just because Kara's out on the West Coast and I'm on the East, and we sometimes get these things going to like 1, 2 in the morning for me. So I want to have these. I want as many as you guys can to show up live, and yeah, it's been a great turnout. So we appreciate all of you that are here, and all of you that will listen back. So
Speaking of, I'm actually gonna share it right now because I hadn't done it before. So anyone who hasn't shared it, give it a share so we could spread the word about Kaspa, of course. And yeah, going off of what you said earlier about NFTs, probably one of the coolest things I've seen in Kaspa with NFTs is Bitcoin Maxi Tiers is a KRC. It's a meme token on level 2 Casplex, and they built a Caspa University where you could like take tests on there and learn about Caspa. And if you complete all of the tests, you get a certification. That's an NFT that verifies that you passed all of the tests. So that's kind of like that 10x that CryptoODI's been talking about, where, you know, imagine if documentation like degrees and certifications were on the blockchain. You know, no one can forge them. And it's like, if you don't have this certification on Caspa, then it's a chance that it could be counterfeit. So just something cool I've observed in the trenches on Telegram.
Yeah, and going back to what you were mentioning earlier, Odie, about having a sour taste in your mouth about 100%, pre-minted tokens, because I'm very similar. I'm a proof of work maxi. I feel if it's not proof of work, it's just not crypto. Maybe that's just my own bias. And I believe I've mentioned this before on other spaces, but Ethereum actually introduced a token standard called ERC 918, and it basically allows for mineable tokens on top of Ethereum. So there is a solution for this. Tokens issued on chains don't have to be just snapped into thin air. There are ways where you can create tokens that are mineable as well. And obviously, I don't think we have that on Caspa yet, but I think I've always found that to be a very interesting solution to this, whatever pre-minted tokens problem.
I was gonna scream, I hate it. I, I I I would say that's just inflating the supply with Charizards, if you ask me. Imagine you have a bunch of energy cards, and then you go, there's only 28.7 billion energy cards, water, electricity, fire, and we're going to add a Charizard. That's what that sounds like to me.
So I have a different perspective on this. I used to have a bad taste in my mouth when it came to this, but I did my research into this. I looked into as many things as I could about this project. And when I see why it's minted that way, why it's 100%, and it's given out to everyone, everyone starts out with 100. I don't remember if it's $100 or 100 CAS. It escapes me at the moment. Everyone's getting something. So it's not as if one person's keeping it. It's being spread evenly to all these different wallets, businesses. I think that's so amazing. But before we keep going into that, I just want to briefly mention Cloak Protocol. They are currently trying to make Zcash and Monero irrelevant. So they focus on the privacy aspect of Kaspa. And I wanted to just mention them. I'll put this in the chat as well so people can have a link to Cloak. But basically, from their own tweets, they're saying that a Cloak transaction on the Kaspa network makes it statistically impossible to prove who sent you that amount. So what they're trying to do is provide privacy on Kaspa. So instead of a one input, you get a two output transaction, Cloak coordinates, and they have a typo, an n plus n input, four output transactions to unique addresses. They're all about privacy. So they have Cloak Wallet that allows you to buy anything you want anywhere in the world instantly with Kaspa, uncensorable with only your fingerprint. And from what I understand here, okay, let's pull this up. So they recently have said that they have NFC tap to pay. They just announced this yesterday. It's fully working in the Cloak wallet. And they have said, imagine buying anything from a coffee to a car using just a tap on your phone, having the Cloak protocol, make your transaction obfuscated, and have confirmation all under a second. Minuscule fees only possible with Kaspa. And right now they are developing a Cloak node, which basically would allow you to have your own node at home already ready to go. So you don't have to do any fancy setting up your node. You just buy it, it's ready to go, with network verification and fungibility all in a little cube. And they have a picture of it on here, which I'll post so that people can have access to it. So they are developing that. They want people to have full control of their money. So I'm going to go ahead and send a link to the Cloak protocol. This is just another way that people are developing on Kaspa and announcing new things that are being put out constantly. And this was just mentioned yesterday. So again, do your own research. I'm not vouching for this place or these people just because I'm mentioning it. I'm hearing about this for the very first time, but it looks very interesting. I'm going to look into it and find out more. If anyone has any information on Cloak or on privacy, feel free to speak up.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a couple reasons, which is if you have four outputs, let's say, what are you going to split the money into four different outputs? And where does the where if you just because you make more outputs doesn't mean where would that money end up? You know what I mean? Sounds it so far to me, it sounds like fancy language. NFC capabilities, yes, because Nexus is kind of pioneering that right now, and I'm actually proud to say that. And I'm coming with a little bit of like emotional blah blah blah, a little bit extra because I just became a part of the Nexus team probably about 5 days ago, and so we're doing some cool stuff. I know that NFC is possible. It is able to be done. So therefore, out of instinct, I'm just gonna shoot these guys down for fun. But if anybody else who has more technical expertise, come out and talk about it.
Yeah, and that reminds me, what happened to Cast Mixer? Because I never even got a chance to use it, and when I went to go looking for it, that was down. And wasn't that known for taking a transaction and having it split with other people in a pool of transactions, and then it made, I guess, a one-to-one transaction. I don't think that split it and made more, did it?
I think
Or
once these things go to scale, they're functional. If there are many outputs and inputs, you can kind of obscure a transaction. But with UTXO stuff, it's very trackable as far as I can tell. I've heard Jonathan talk about the possibility of privacy stuff, and he seems he seems cautiously pessimistic, but um I think there's a full understanding that can be done with vprogs in a kind of a tornado kind of way for ethereum, maybe not exactly tornado, but tornado cash. That was, if that was prior to, never mind, I'm not going to go outside of my, let's have Coder of stuff. He's never been up, but I know he's not going to come up. I'm not going to ask you to come up, but yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember
Coder.
seeing that mention. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kara.
Okay. I just want to say, Coder, I know that you never come up here every time we ask, but it's always an open invitation. You're always welcome. You have so much knowledge, and we have the greatest respect for you. And if you're able to talk, we would love to have your expertise and your knowledge. 16-bit, go ahead.
I actually like that Coder doesn't speak. Maybe that's just a mysterious
Me
vibe to him
too.
that I
Yeah,
like.
me too.
But
I'm with you, 16-bit. It's like as soon as you guys started requesting him up, I'm like, he's gonna go write something in the comments, and he absolutely did. Because he doesn't come up.
yeah, but I was gonna say
So
I remember seeing Jonathan talking. I can't remember who he was mentioning or who he was talking to, but I remember him mentioning privacy as well, and I actually dropped a link to that conversation in the comments there because I was very excited to see it because I'm all about privacy as well.
Yeah, it looks like we have some new comments in the chat. 16-bit posted what Jonathan had said. I'm just going to read this for those who are not in our chat but are listening either here or later. Jonathan said, and I quote, "My read is Zcash community views ZEC as a Swiss vault more than cash, and then confirmation times are less of an issue. Adding DAG speed but not throughput to Zcash is definitely doable, and vice versa. Adding shielding to DAG, waiting for your kip on this," and then he tags MaxiBitCat. So if you want a link to that, it is in our chat. So yeah, thanks 16-bit for posting that.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it for me, guys. I'm going to have to go ahead and lay it down for the night, but I really appreciate the conversation. I love you guys, and have a good night.
yeah, man, thanks for coming. It's been a while
Thank
since we heard
you.
from you. So thanks for coming up and sharing some knowledge and having the conversation with us, man. Appreciate you.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, thank you 16-bit. I also want to read what Coder of Stuff posted in the chat. He said, and I quote, RTD is a lot about the network being able to attest to something having happened and the user being able to act on that condition. So I wanted to throw that in there. It's always good to hear about this. RTD, is that real-time data or real-time decentralization? Because I'm getting two different answers. I believe in Telegram, they say real-time decentralization, and on AI, it says real-time data. So I'm getting kind of confused between the two. I'm guessing they're kind of the same thing, but I don't know.
No, good question, because I'm confused too. So
Yeah, I feel like I'm learning
if anybody
constantly,
knows,
especially yeah, especially with all these new projects and new things coming and covenants and all this stuff. There's just so much always to be on the lookout for. Okay, so Coder says it's real-time decentralization.
okay,
So I guess
sweet.
that verifies it for us. Awesome.
And I think a lot of these things have to do with something called plausible deniability. And so it's like because there's other options, it might not have been you. And it starts to lower the probability that it was you, etc., etc. And actually, funny enough, I have a disclosure to make. I did take a very, very small portion, I'd say about like 5% of my Caspa and threw it into ZEC because of, and I hate to, I'm, it's full transparency. I just I see that narrative coming, and my full intention is that the ZEC narrative will catch before the L2 implementation of privacy on Caspa happens. So I want to be able to catch maybe a 5x, and my full intention is to throw that all back into Caspa regardless of what happens.
Do you feel like relieved that you were able to tell us and share that with us, Odie?
Yes. It was
Good, good. Hey man, it's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. This it's blockchain banter beneath the surface. It's not. We don't have Casper in the title, so that's
Well,
awesome, man.
but it
But
does
yeah, we talk about
it is
Casper.
a crazy thing because I am 100% Caspa, but there was something about Zek where I went, the privacy aspect and whatever's bubbling in the world right now. I was just going, if and you know what, I had to do some tax stuff. I'm like, I want as much Caspa as possible, and there was a point where I was pretty good at watching narratives, and I made quite good bank on it. And and I just had this funny feeling that I went, you know what? Let's play this little narrative for just a tiny second because I want to, possibly double my Caspa bag, but also it could be complete catastrophe.
Yeah.
We never know these things, but all I guess I'm saying is my idea of diversification is throwing 1 out of 20 over to some other chain.
When you were hey, I have to make a confession. I when you were saying that, I'm like, is he gonna tell us that he dropped into some mushrooms tonight? That's what I thought you were going with. But yeah,
No, that
man.
was acid on New Year's.
Oh, okay, that's what I felt was coming. I don't know why I felt that. I did it a couple weeks ago before a spaces. Yeah, man, I'm with you on the narrative thing. That does feel like it's a big deal with privacy. So hey, man, more power to you if that's what you're feeling. Hopefully, it works out.
Yeah, it's 5%. I just, I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
tell,
I got you.
it's open stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I briefly put some of my Caspa into Zec and then I put it back into Caspa. I said, fuck this. I'm not gonna do it. But I did for 3 days. I did. For 3 days I was in Zec and then I just said no. So I'm still 100% in Caspa, but I don't blame you because I see where it's tempting. I see the appeal. And you're right. I think you are gonna make bank on it. I think you're gonna make money on it.
My only goal
Um,
is to expand my Caspa bag. That's I
yeah.
just see that narrative coming before we get to where we need to go. So I feel like if I can, add to my Caspa bag by a third or maybe 50%, like, I mean, just even 10%, 20%, 30%. It doesn't even matter, but it's just a little bet that I'm making. But it also has way more risk because it's speculative. It's 1 second, sorry. It's more about looking at society and the whims of society, whereas Kaspa is looking at not the whim of society. It's something way more integral. It's going, what's the need? What's the absolute, like, what is society like dying for? Um, and even if there's privacy enabled on ZEC, the throughput will never satisfy the security budget requirements. Even if it just if you game it out when it comes to throughput and how much people will pay for privacy, actually, you know what? It starts to make a little bit more sense, but it's just not enough. Especially knowing that we have vprogs coming and we have so much innovation coming, which will emulate something close to Zcash. Uh, if it's comparable, and Zcash loses its 10x advantage when it comes to privacy, then Caspa will still win. It'll still have the lead. It's still gonna acquire a security budget through just high velocity trading, permissionless trading done through, you know, things that need it. There's so much need for that particular aspect.
Thank you for that, Odie. Privacy, we've kind of been on that for a little bit. I want to kind of shift again. There are a lot of shifts today. There's so many things going on. I'm going to segue to two things, but the first thing is a quick segue. We were talking earlier about how Juan was tripping on shrooms. So if anyone wants to trip on shrooms or get drunk, or you're having fun, or just in an altered space, or if you're completely sober, you can play a trading card game using NFTs. I'm putting a link to that in the chat. A full trading card game developed by Casme, who is just in here. Really beautiful graphics, a lot of fun. If you're too high on shrooms, you might not be able to actually see very well. So it just depends. But I want to segue from that into something that's a bit different from privacy, which is the stable coins. So if you guys will check out or follow at Josh Metnick, I'll put his link in the chat. Just yesterday, he announced a prototype of Kaspa stablecoin, and he started this test launch. He's looking for feedback. If anyone wants the site password, you can DM him. Basically, he made a tweet that said POC live beta here. He puts a link to caspa.finance. And here's what he says: deposit, and there's a ticker, USDC, and receive KUSDC 1-to-1 minus fees and the reverse, and you can convert KUSDC back to USDC on Ethereum. The
Scam.
maximum transaction size. This is a scam. You can verify this.
Okay, imagine if you pre-printed, you said, hey, on my own merit, I will take your USDC, and I swear by the mouth of my heart
That's not the words,
that
Odie. Sing it
that
right.
okay, yeah. And I
And I
swear
swear.
that my pre-mined bullshit is backed up, and I have an obligation, a legal obligation uh to uphold whatever USDC circle, which has gone through so much regulation, so much treasury requirements, but mine will also do that.
Even though it's on Caspa Finance, isn't that one legit?
I don't know what that's all about, but I think if somebody says just transfer, it's sorry, I'm triggered. I'm
I
triggered.
get that, but this is on Kaspa Finance. I mean, they've been in talks with KEF and all of that. I mean, this isn't just a nobody. This is with this was with Kaspa Finance, and again, we do need to do our own research and do our own diligence, but this is something that is in test mode. And if anyone's interested, I'm going to put this link in there. And again, if it does turn out to be a scam, report it to the other link that I posted. The Caspa what is it? The Caspa Security.
Caspa
Forgot
Security
what that's
Center.
called.
I guess my only
Yeah,
point is
that.
how can somebody back their token with another token? And well, you know what?
Well, they
On
can't yet. It's in test launch. It's just test. They can't do it yet.
Yeah, so I
yeah, I'm
guess
just
the point maybe is just to announce some of these things that are being worked on within Caspa, and people should go do their own research. I
yeah.
personally, I'd like to see things happen before I give anybody a penny. So, and
Anyway, I'm just here to play the like devil's advocate clown at this point, but I'm just I'm just yelling out edge cases and just use me for entertainment at this point. That's all I'm doing at that, because there's a lot to be suspicious of when somebody says
Yeah,
I'm going to take something that's really regulated and backed by physical things that are regulated by governments and papers, and I am going to back it with my word. That's all I'm
yeah.
gonna say.
I put DYOR above it, just to give people that extra reminder. Do your own research. Um, this is. I went ahead and posted it. I can't vouch for it. I don't know anything about this, but I do know that I have a good feeling about Finance. So there's that, but we can't go with feelings, right? We have to go with things that are verifiable. And Odie brings up a good point. You want to make sure that people are just saying, "Give me this," and test with your real money. Because right, we this is why we like test nets. You can use faucets and test with alternative forms. And in something like this, it's in beta mode. But some things do need to be tested. But I don't know enough about this, so just keep that in mind. Do your own due diligence. If you are going to test, do a very small amount. Be smart. Don't put your life savings into anything that you don't know anything about, because that would be really bad.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is there's the proof of work, which is behind something like Tether or Circle. There is work. There's serious work behind what makes these things legitimate, even though they are not as legitimate as something as Bitcoin when it comes to the fact that they can seize assets. That's something pivotal to these USDC agreements. They cannot have these agreements unless they can seize assets. This is not permissionless. It's not Caspa. It's not Bitcoin. These are under US regulation. They need to be able to seize, they need to be able to freeze, or else they're not allowed to do it, right? And they need to be able to back it up with things like treasuries. They need to back it up with things that are physical usually. And I guess if in theory you could buy something like USDC and then make it into your own token. So, but I was just coming from a kickback reaction. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
So I noticed, Odie, that you mentioned proof of work, but they use POC. Do you know what that stands for? What they could be using or say they're using? Do you know anything about POC?
I hope it's not proof of concept.
That would be funny. I'm looking it up on Grok to see what Grok. Yeah, it says proof of concept.
Well, then
scam.
it's closer to then it's closer to the Do Kwon Luna,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's the algorithmic stablecoin where it goes, hey, if you'll sell a little bit of this to buy that, and that's how we'll maintain the spread of the US dollar price of US what was it? The Luna Luna stablecoin? I forget what it was. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, but they also the whole
Collapse.
purpose of Luna was that they had an algorithmic stablecoin which was pegged to the US dollar, but the way that they maintained this stable coin was algorithmic because people could buy and sell Luna in order to maintain the value of the stable coin. So if the stable coin dropped to 99 cents and the US dollar was $1, then they would sell Luna and they would buy the stablecoin. And if the stablecoin went up to $1.01, and then they would sell sell the stablecoin and then buy the yeah. So it's algorithmic balancing, I guess, which oddly enough is the same way that we're going at trying to do our MEV resistance, but it's going to be more robust. So I don't know. These things get real complicated real quick.
Yeah, I want to just point out that I ran this through Grok just to get Grok's opinion on this post and this user and this situation. And they said that there's no major red flags. However, there's a skeptical take, which is kind of what you're bringing up, Odie, which is questions about custody. Who holds the backing of the USDC? Are they a registered money services business? Why trust them? And it's a valid point for any bridged or wrapped asset, especially in early stages. But I just want to point out that there is a $5 maximum in testing this to reduce the risk. So they're not asking for a lot. So that's kind of a green flag. They're saying, hey, there's a maximum of $5. Don't give us more than that. So that's kind of a positive take. And also, a lot of major accounts were actually tagged in this post, including Circle.
I do also
So
have to say though, like that's how most of these, I would call them trust scams, start
mm,
to develop. Is they'll start with, hey, it's usually an investment scam. They'll say, hey, if you invest uh, $30 with us, we promise we'll like let's say double your investment, and then in 2 weeks, oh, I got $60 back, and then you tell your friend, oh, there's this place where you can invest $30 and you'll get $60 in like 2 weeks because they're so good at investing, I guess. And then
mm,
they're starting with this is a very, very classic scam, by the way. And then once they hit a threshold of maybe $50,000 TVL, they just blow it up. Boom. So starting small is not always you know, that doesn't really mean so much sometimes.
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I'm probably not gonna test with this. I don't usually. I'm kind of with Juan on this. I'll be a part of this once I know it works. Otherwise, I don't know about it.
I'm not gonna say yes or no, but I was just, you know, I've had a drink or two, and I just, I'll just say what I think at that point, which is just in odds. I'd say like just what comes to the top of my head, which is like it sounds like a 80% chance that they're 20% chance they're trying something revolutionary or something new, and they'll build trust, and it's proof of concept, and but like that's why people like me need to speak at moments like this so that they can talk it down and tell you no, it's not what it looks like, and and explain their
Yeah,
case.
that's a good point, and I think it's very important and valuable, and I'm glad you spoke up. So thank you, Odie. I appreciate that. Juan, do you have any thoughts on this?
Odie spoke for me. So no, I'm good.
Awesome, possum. So we've kind of covered a lot of things today, from Cassia, K Social, Cloak, Testnet 12, Warp Core, Casanova, um, different NFTs, the Spectre marketplace. I mean, there's so many things, and these were very recent developments. It's just phenomenal to see all of this coming together and what's going on. Is there anything new that I've missed, or anything that that you'd like to bring up?
I think we covered the big topics, the big news. I thought it was pretty. I sent you a little message, and just to share with everybody here, I thought it was pretty cool how you came with these little, topics to bring the flow to the show. So that was awesome. But yeah, I think we covered, and I'm excited about what Warp Core is going to turn into and what the KI are doing. A handful of these projects, pretty neat with the Testnet 12. And yeah, it's been a great conversation tonight, no doubt.
I have a quick announcement, I guess. Is that okay if I do that?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I recently joined Nexus, which is they're I would say they're the first ones that can provably say that they've done NFC with, because they can show it. They'll show you a video with the prototype. It's Izio Dev and then BK. And I've just joined the team recently, but they're doing real NFC transactions. And the cool part about it is that when you go to a till with this particular thing, your phone will do a, if you I was talking about them with clicks, like, because you have to compete with Apple Pay, which is 2 clicks on the side of the phone and then a tap. You know what I mean? And what they have going right now is going to be a 1 tap, 1 click. So in some sense, in marketing talk, you can say it's 1 less click than Apple Pay, which is pretty cool. And then what's happened is right now we're in talks with a very, very cheap alternative to the first product, which is a secondary product, which is kind of a peer-to-peer NFC transaction. And by the way, this stuff is unprecedented, so it needs to be proven. So unless you see it in video of it working, I would say just discard it. Actually happening yet, but there will be maybe something that can be purchased for under $3, where you tap it on the back of your phone as a merchant, and then you vocally say $1.28. You tap it again on the back of your phone, and then you give that card or a fob. It's actually going to come in two. It might come in 2 different sections, but then you tap it on the customer's phone, and then they just hit confirm, and it's over. And it will convert from USD to Kaspa, and that transaction's probably done in less than 7 seconds. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to a Facebook Marketplace transaction, I've done a lot of e-transfers, which leave me standing around for 5 minutes. Or it's when it comes to US dollar transactions peer to peer, it's the only thing that I can see that's going to be a digital cash transaction in under 10 seconds. So it's very exciting stuff that's happening there.
How did you get involved with it?
I I guess I just came praising what they were doing, and then they saw the tools that I made, and then right now we're in process of just there's some proprietary things, and I'm in charge of vibe coding a certain product, which is the one that's a lot cheaper, which you can tap from phone to phone, and it automatically converts from USD, and you don't have to look for the app, you don't have to scan a QR code, you don't have to say, oh, how much Kaspa would this be to that. You just go US dollars, bang, you tap your phone on their card, they hit confirm, it's done. And that for me, that's what I'm working on, what I will be working on under them. And then yeah, so that it's pretty exciting stuff. And how did I get with them? I just said that you guys are doing cool stuff and I want to be a part of it.
Wow. And so this is kind of related or unrelated, I'm not sure, but do you think working with Nexus would inspire you to make updates to the calculator that you've made?
I guess the short answer would be no. I think that calculator is a one and done. The
Okay.
the desktop calculator will exclusively calculate full throughput. So if you tell it, it'll give you a date. So if you move it to 2027, it'll tell you how much Kaspa is being given to you. I don't know if it's per day or per block. It'll tell you the exact security budget without fees. And then if you move the fee a little bit, it'll calculate. If you have it on 10 BPS, it'll say, okay, a $1 fee or a 1 cent fee, let's say 3,000 transactions, that'll be X amount of Kaspa going to the miners every day. So it just that's the desktop one has more of a visual thing. It shows visually exactly where our security budget is going to be exempt of fees. And then it also adds full throughput, what fees would do to alleviate the situation of just the block rewards. It shows how much it would add to that. Whereas the other calculator, you can manipulate the congestion. So the throughput will be, you can go, oh, it's what if it was only acting at 1% of the full 3,000 transactions it can do at 10 BPS, which would be 3,000 transactions. So 1% of 3,000, I guess, would be 30, and then 30 transactions a second, and then it'll give you a more kind of nuanced understanding. So the one is more visual, the other one's less visual, I guess, and it has a little bit more wiggle room on throughput.
I'm curious because you went from creating these immaculate calculators, and then you led the groups to basically do the world record for the most transactions in a day, and now you're moving on to Nexus. And you're an electrician, right? Didn't you say that? So how did you make this transition through all of this? Take us beneath the surface to how you got there.
Well, honestly, I'm a newer electrician. I'm just at 4th year now, but I think within my 1st year, I was a musician before that, and there was times where I made money and stuff like that. But when I got into electrical, I kind of found this sweet spot between creativity and science, and I went. It was my first time understanding that that cause and effect, and I guess just like if you have copper wire and it's this thick, there's that much current that can run through it, or that much power, sorry, that can run through it, and power is just a division between voltage and amps, and there was a couple cool little things, and it just had to do with, and all it was chemistry, which is just, metals, and then magnetism, which conducts, and that got me thinking in a little bit of a way. I was already becoming a Bitcoiner, and then when I saw Bitcoin mining, and then I started to work at energy generation projects like hydro dams and stuff like that, and then understanding how they transmit power and the limitations of those things, and seeing how proof of work really can balance and aid all of these new projects, all these new renewable energy projects, which are so much more cost efficient than fossil fuels and will be increasingly so. So it kind of opened my eyes to, I guess, a little bit of like a reliability of science, and caring a little bit about something bigger picture, I guess. Yeah. And that's where it kind of all birthed from. And I would say now I just started vibe coding, and vibe coding just takes a little bit of logic and explaining everything like you're a 3-year-old. You have to, not, or maybe not 3-year-old, but like you have to explain all the edge case circumstances and the context of what you're talking about, and tell you exactly what effect you want to happen, and say, I don't want this effect to happen, I don't want that effect to happen, and if this happens, that should happen. And then you see what AI comes up with. And as somebody who may not have, I feel like it's just a time and place. And right now, vibe coding for me was just like, I can make things, and I feel super grateful that my negligence of learning coding has led me to be able to, use vision and still be able to execute ideas.
Can I just say real quick, and I think, Juan, you're about to say something. This will be really brief. Odie, you're so smart. You mentioned copper and making things, and I just want to say that I just bought some Faraday fabric made out of copper so that I can make a mind control helmet again. So anyway, go ahead, Juan.
No, I was just gonna say it's pretty cool to hear Odie's story and then seeing what he's brought to the community, and obviously knowing his background, that he was a big time Bitcoiner, how he speaks of proof of work, and pretty cool. I didn't know that you were a musician, so seeing that creativity is playing out with what you've put together, the educational content with your videos, the speed test that you've done, and now what you're doing with Nexus. So it all makes sense, Odie. We're always right exactly where we're supposed to be. So I just appreciate you sharing a little bit of beneath the surface, and having a drink with us, and sharing all your knowledge, man, because you're critical to this movement, man. So we appreciate you coming on and speaking, and being a part of the conversation tonight, man. You're always welcome here on the panel every single time. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's so much fun. I implore everybody to get into AI, call it a bitch, argue with it, get really mad. Don't try to get it to tell you what you want it to tell you. Get it to tell you why you're wrong. Always be pessimistic about your own ideas when you talk to AI, because it will have a little bit of an edge of trying to tell you what you want to hear. And just know that exists. But this thing is only going to get better and better and better. And the more that you're more, I guess, intellectually responsible with the way that you talk to it, it will give you intellectually responsible responses.
yeah, brother, you hit the nail on the head with that. I really see, obviously there's people that are like, oh, these robots are going to take care, or they're going to take over, and there's a section of the population that thinks that way. But you're right, you need to test it, because it will tell you what you want to hear if that's how you're speaking to it. At the same time, I'm not a technical person. My background, marketing, sales, business, entrepreneur. I play guitar, sing a little bit. So there's that creativity there with that. And I can tell you that AI and understanding that it can be an extension of me if, like you said, you ask it the right questions. You say, hey, but show me my blind spots. Am I missing something? Are you sure? Make sure that you're giving me because it's not gonna be an extension of you if you do not evolve with it. So you're right. It's only gonna get better. It's only gonna make our lives easier. If you look at it that way, it can be a tool to enhance you, and it can do the complete opposite as well. So you're
Yeah,
you're spot on with that.
understand its biases. You got to ask it questions like, if you were a pessimist and you thought my idea wasn't going to work, give me every possibility and start speaking in such a way to talk about the edge cases of where this idea falls short, why this, and then the best thing is, once you start doing its repos and commitments, it's reps in a gym, you will have something that once you've saved it, you're fine. And then you will send in a commitment and you'll see if your idea works. And if the idea doesn't work, you'll ask it another question. You start on that original file, you ask it in a different way, you'd be more specific, and maybe it'll all of a sudden choke up exactly what you were looking for. At the end of the day, you might need smarter people like Coder of Stuff, Izio Dev, Sutton, Mexicat, all these guys who have real background to double check if you have something legitimate that is secure. But you can do so much legwork for these guys. Is I guess my main point is that they are looking for vibe coders, and when you're a vibe coder, you just have to be somebody who isn't hopeful but more practical about, like, you're pushing AI to its limit through being specific, and you can come out with miracles, and they'll look at what you did, and then they can tweak it, but like, or criticize it, but it can really, it takes a lot of prompts. Like, for example, to make that calculator, there was that first calculator, I think, took 350 different commitments, and each commitment takes about a minute to upload, and each commitment probably also takes a paragraph of talking to it. So you have to, there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of arguments with you in a computer.
You put a lot of time into that, Odie, and I love your calculator. Um, I think I get so much use out of it, and I've learned so much about the fee market as a result. But now you're with Nexus, and I'm still not entirely sure what Nexus is. I heard what you said. I was listening to what you said, but I don't really fully understand it. Can you tell me what Nexus is, as if I'm a 5-year-old who is drunk?
Peer-to-peer, trying to emulate Google Pay. That's the gist of it. And the closer that we can get to the least amount of clicks without sacrificing too much security. There's the product that I've tried to that I've proposed and kind of am the one pushing and buying, or I've bought some NFC which are applicable for the application that we're trying to do. Is I'm trying to hit the lowest price point possible while being able to execute something where a merchant can simply tap their phone, say a price, tap their phone, and then tap the customer phone, and the transaction is done when they hit confirm. And yeah, there's authentication, which is app based or your phone based, like a face scan on either side, which proves that the right person is talking to the right person. But the closing the gap so that it feels just like Apple Pay is the goal.
I see. Is there, I'm not too familiar with NFC. Does this have anything to do with NFC tapping or anything like that?
That's exactly what it is. So it's basically just
Oh,
it's just like, it's like you double click the side of your phone and you tap it on a merchant, and they've already done some legwork before you tapped. So, they've done a couple taps, couple inputs their own self before. But on the customer side, you just go double click on the side of your phone and you tap. And the goal from Nexus is it's going to be a tap, and then it's going to be a confirm. So it's one tap, one confirm. And
So does this mean that you could go to a gas station, theoretically fill up your gas tank and just tap your phone and then boom, you've paid with Kaspa? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I would say end game, yeah, but the market that we're looking for right now is merchants who are more independent. Sorry, I won't. I'm not even gonna say that, because the product that they're making is enterprise, and the one that I'm kind of working on is more peer to peer. So if you go to like any sort of person who has Nexus app enabled on their phone, that Nexus app will be hardwired into a self-custodial, a different type of hardware wallet, which is totally unrelated to Nexus. And when they tap their phone, the information about where that hardware wallet is basically imprinted. They say the amount of money that they want to go to that hardware wallet. They tap it on their phone again. By the way, that first tap, you don't even need to open the app. That first tap will open the app, and then you just say the amount of money you want. You tap it again, and then next you just pass it over to the person who's the customer. They'll tap it on their phone, and then it'll bring up either a selection of wallets. It'll say, would you like Casp? So just Caspium pops up, and then you hit you see, okay, you're being requested $12. You just hit confirm. It does a facial recognition, and it's sent. So it closes the gap from, if traditionally right now, if you're going to go to a place, they're gonna ask, okay, you have a $12 hamburger. That's gonna be, I don't know, 12 times 40 cents. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be X amount of Kaspa. For, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to do the math right now, but I'm tempted. But anyway, so it'll do the math for you. So usually in a transaction, you're going to do the math. You're going to go to a website. You're going to see how much Kaspa that was for the $12 hamburger, and then you're going to ask them to sign their QR code. You have to scan their phone, and then you have to, or they're going to have to scan your phone. Sorry. No, they're going to have to enter it in themselves. So now the onus is actually on the customer to enter in, X amount of Kaspa, do that big calculation. That stuff is all done on the merchant side. So the customer just has to look at their phone and hit OK, and then it's done. So it's just trying to basically close the gap, make it feel like a TradFi experience as much as possible, to close the P2P gap, peer-to-peer gap.
And then Odie, I have a question. And so let's say it pops up on the customer side. You mentioned the Caspium or Kaspa. You pay with. Are you saying that you could pay with Kaspa, but the merchant could decide they want that converted over to USDC, or is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the merchant side, we're just focusing on the merchant is always going to ask for the currency that at where they live. Like, they're going to ask for US dollars, they're going to ask for Canadian dollars, they're going to ask for rubles, they're going to ask for whatever, and at that point it will automatically convert to Kaspa with a little bit of, what's the word for it, sliding room, or there's a word for it, like 1 or 2%. So you give a tiny bit of allocation to just the idea that if this transaction slides a little bit when it comes to these currencies, you don't want them to overpay. And then the customer just hits okay, and they're never overbilled, but it's still far more superior than a 3% Visa transaction.
Oh wow, well, like way more superior. Not even close.
Well,
Yeah.
but the funny thing is that it's not the same as credit, because people love their credit. They
They do.
this is similar. This is actually similar to a debit card transaction,
Okay.
and because it's not a derivative. It's just it's just straight up cash, and but it's uh it's just another way to do it, and it's gonna be our only goal is to make it feel like Apple Pay.
I
It
have a
sounds like that's
question
what's.
too. Oh, go ahead, Juan.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead, Kara.
I was going to ask if covenants is going to play a role in this, because it seems as if you're wanting to do this tap to tap, yeah, it's going to have the provision of maybe doing facial recognition or something, but is there maybe another way to prevent more of our Caspa from being taken out? Say we're being robbed or something. Can covenants actually help us in this scenario with this Nexus that you're working with?
The only thing is the customer will always see on their phone, and it will be a hardware wallet, what is being asked of them. It's usually going to be a hot wallet. It's not going to be a hardware wallet situation, because hardware wallets require signing, which is it's kind of outside of the phone. So it's more of a convenience aspect. So we're going to be expecting people having hot wallets with, $1,000 worth of Caspa only loaded onto it, and something like Cas Maps, which dictates where all the merchants exist. Uh, and these merchants will have a rating, which is reputation based, of if somebody feels like they were gypped, um, they can say, well, I tapped for a $15 payment, and all $400 from my hotware wallet, hot wallet, all went to that place. And there's finality. So in such a case, you can't get refunded, and it would be a dispute between the two parties. So, but there's pluses and negatives when it comes to something like that, because when it comes to Visa or something like that, there's a middleman, and it takes a lot of time for that money to come back. It takes a lot of litigation and things like that, and this would just be on-chain data, or maybe not, maybe. And by the way, when it comes to the USDT USDC aspect, yes, that's going to involve vprogs, because you're going to be quickly transacting from Caspa, and the person will be receiving USDT as a stable coin within their wallet, their hardware wallet. Another goal is that instead of them receiving USDC, USDT, this is a little bit further on, but we want that money to just end up in their bank account. So when we give this to a merchant, they can be a no coiner, and we can say, and we can pick certain hot regions where there's lots of Caspa people, and we can give it to many merchants and say, hey, this when they tap Caspa, you will get US dollars directly to your bank account. That part is still like definitely in the works, but that's kind of the ultimate goal, that these merchants don't even have to deal with Caspa. They just have the ability to take it, and it's very easy, very seamless, and the percentage that's being taken off the sale instead of 3% is like, I don't know, 0.1% to prevent slippage. And yeah, slippage is the word I was thinking of.
That's wonderful. I thank you for sharing that. That sounds really cool, and I think it is smart to just put a limited amount of your cash on it for exactly that reason. It's money that you would use. It's not money that you necessarily need to save as you would in a hard wallet. Um, I also want to mention, just kind of moving into a different direction, just real quick. Um, Apparently, this was put out 3 days ago. The number of addresses, Kaspa addresses holding 100K plus Kaspa hit a new all-time high. So Diamond Hands are still holding, and the number of people who have more than 100,000 Kaspa has increased. It's at an all-time high. Also, it looks like CryptoNinja is requesting to speak, so I'm going to go ahead and approve. Go ahead, CryptoNinja.
Good evening. I've got a question for CryptoODI. Just something that popped up while we were speaking, and I know you guys are developing a lot of stuff, but if I can put one more thing in there that I think would be cool, if I had a business or if I'm a merchant, if I could have it set up in a way where I can choose a percentage of what I receive. So say you pay me $100 worth of Caspa for a service or a product, and I want, say my margin is 20% profit, and I want only $80 going into the business banking account, and I want to stack the rest in cash. If a guy could have something like that, or that would be quite cool too. Not sure how possible that would be, but just something to think about, maybe adding.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely feasible. Super easy, actually. I think it would just be programmed in. The first thing that you can program is actually the confirmations, the amount of confirmations that you need for finality, and yeah, it would work. It would work absolutely.
Yeah, that was a great question. I was thinking of asking that earlier. No, great question. Love that. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
because
That
my thought behind that is to also, like, whether it's already a person that's supporting Caspa or even just new people to the ecosystem, someone might feel like, okay, well, I don't know about this crypto or Caspa thing that you're mentioning, but if I can get my money and with some of my profits, I could then enter the whole crypto market and then Caspa. I think that'll be also good for market adoption and getting more people on board.
Yeah, we're just going for no coiners, actually. That, well, at least that's my outlook, is that it's all about the no coiner, and saying here's a way to get digital cash, and it's the only way to get digital cash out of crypto so far, as far as I can see, like the only real attempt.
and that's, I mean, we were all no coiners at one point, man. That's how it starts. It's just, everybody's a no coiner at one point, and I think all of this is the Trojan horse to freeing people up. So it starts with, yeah, I love it. I love it.
Just one more thing, yeah, because that'll obviously be a very nice sales pitch, telling people. Because if you think about crypto, the taxes on, like, the gains that everyone makes, is you want to be able to at some point spend it. Because in my opinion, there's no point in having millions of whatever coin, and you can never use it in your life, whether it be for vacation or buying products and services. So, like, I would also say, if we could look at, there's another site I stumbled upon the other day, Bitcoin and ETH, and everyone's already on there. I think it's called Crypto Refill or something like that, where basically Caspa can also be on there, and there's already some merchants listed where you can also spend Caspa, because at the end of the day, by doing so, we also would make the whole ecosystem go crazy and all the transactions, and that's good for the miners and everything about it, so we can have more flow in and out, and use case for our crypto.
Yeah, we're right now we're looking to, well, at least, sorry, I'm not going to speak for the whole team. My outlook is that what my prerogative is that we should try to aim for hot spots. Like if Juan is from Miami, I know he moved, or like let's say wherever on CAS maps has the most Caspa population, we can crowdfund to make sure that certain businesses get the more advanced version, which is Bluetooth, and it hooks up to something like Square, Square Terminal, and it works in parallel with Square. So they just literally buy the Bluetooth puck, and when you tap your phone on it, a light pops up. It's got the big K on it, and at that point, it'll just ask you how much money do you want to, or it'll prompt you like again $6, and then you hit confirm, and it's gone to there. And so that is the little bit higher cost version for the merchants, but then there's going to be the much more affordable thing to distribute to, you know, music festivals, food trucks, all these different things. And if we can permeate hotspots and get like circular economies occurring and using CAS maps to really target where we want to use, you know, free type of like giving merchants the tools to do these transactions, then we can have our already green pilled or teal pilled Caspians to go and use these services. And when they start using these services, these merchants will become green pilled or teal pilled themselves, and it'll become a self perpetuating thing, essentially.
Bro, that's exciting. I mean, as soon as all this is ready, I will go to these hotspots and I will put together teams and I will go knocking on merchants' doors. That sounds exciting to me. Spend all my
And
time
it,
doing
yeah,
that shit, bro.
The video content on X and YouTube would be awesome if a guy films these short clips of going into vendors
Yeah,
and
yeah,
supporting them, and then seeing the vendor check their like balance, and oh, there's the money, and you know it'll be like a wildfire on steroids.
absolutely, absolutely. No,
and
no,
it,
this is exciting, man.
especially, yeah, and
Well,
especially the idea of what I would say like the neutral life or like whatever multi-level marketing type of thing. If we can find a way that's ethical and moral to distribute these things to where it becomes a branching out, because everything is a pyramid scheme in some way, but if you can have in some level a reward to, you know, give that to another person up until a certain point, like there's a lot of talks about, you know, a 0.1% fee or maybe a subscription fee. There's still lots of debate on what exactly, because a little bit of Nexus will remain proprietary in order to, I guess, get a foothold, because we're not a wallet. We just literally just give ease to, and it's all based on hardware wallets or hot wallets. We're just the middleman, I guess. And our only goal is to just be like, I guess, compared to Visa or MasterCard, it'll be a 0.1% fee would be 30 times less. So let's say on $100, 0.1 would be, how much would that be? A 10 cent fee. And I think a lot of businesses would say that's superior. These things are not put into stone at all, but there's still just talk about how do we make this viral? How do we make this something that is marketed not only by a central source but decentralized?
Yeah, what I think when it comes to, you know, my background being in marketing, sales, referrals,
Yeah.
all that, right? When it comes to having something that's organic and benefiting the end user, that stuff spreads naturally, right? And then when you have, you know, you said like everything's a pitch into that, but it also works in the it works in a good way when you're spreading something good that you know benefits the end person. So that naturally happens. I'm thinking right now, the first sales job I had was selling these Cutco knives, and I didn't cook. It wasn't, like the reason those knives are made in the US. There was a good story, good marketing behind it, but it was really easy to get referrals because the referrals were about, oh, I'm this young college student and I'm just working towards these goals. But at the end of the day, these customers would get a great product. So yeah, there's a bunch of ways to spin it, man. And I'd be interested in talking to you about this once you guys get things going because this stuff's up my alley, and it's exciting, bro. I'm happy to hear that you're on the team, that you're doing that. And yeah, I had no idea that stuff like this was being built. But then again, we're surprised every single day with what's happening here. So, but this sounds like a project, Odie, that man, I'm happy that you're working on it. 'Cause from seeing everything that you've done, you're perfect for this, brother. So
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Kara.
All right. So, Odie, you mentioned ethical and moral, and I wanted to circle back to something that was brought up to hopefully bring awareness. So, we had previously talked about that Kaspa finance thing, and the Kaspa futurist was doing some research on this while we were doing uh, our show here, and he found that Josh Metnick is spelled differently than another Josh Metnick. And I noticed that Kaspa.finance is different than app KaspaFinance.io. So there's two different Kaspa finances and there's two different Josh Metnicks. So you're right, Odie. It does look to me like there's some red flags. I went ahead and removed the link from the chat just to prevent any confusion, especially because I don't know who this is and it may be legit, but I'm gonna err on the side of caution, and I just went ahead and removed it. People can do their own research and look into that if they'd like. But I wanted to thank the Casper Futurist for bringing that up because it's important that we try to aim for ethical. We aim for what's morally good and right. And if there's a project that is coming off as an imposter of some kind, I think we should do our due diligence to not make it something that looks like, that we're presenting it as something legit when it may not be. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know that's kind of changing subjects, but I wanted to mention it during the show and not just on a chat so that people listening later can just know that that's something that may not have been a good thing. And maybe it is, but maybe it's not. And like Odie said, it screamed of scam. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. And like Juan said, with his previous experience of selling Cutco knives and having value and having a narrative of being a college student and then also know he's delivering a really good product. I'm putting something out of value. And here you are, Odie, creating something and you're bringing value and narrative to it, knowing it's a good product. I think it's important that if you build something and you put your name behind it and you put your energy into it and you say, hey, I back this project, I back these knives, I back what I'm doing for this project or that project, it lets people know a sense of reputation and you put yourself on the line to say, hey, I know it's a good product and here I am and I vouch for this thing. In the same sense, I can say when I don't vouch for something and looking at this Caspa Finance thing, it's not something that I would necessarily say is a good product. The more I look at this, I'm getting my spider senses are going off. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there real quick.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Kara. I mean, and what we're doing here on the show is we want to promote as much as what's happening in the ecosystem, and again have the conversation. So that's still awesome that you've brought up all these different projects, topics that people want to hear about, need to talk about. So um, cool that we have the discourse and that came back to us, and we could save people time from wasting their time. So at the same time, do your own research, like you talked about.
Yeah, it's not your job to do the full background check of everything you're doing. And I yelled that out like with just no reason whatsoever.
Instincts.
And already somebody's coming back with something that maybe could slightly verify it. Will erring on the side of caution is probably the best way to put it, where it's like everything needs to be aired on the side of caution. And something like Nexus, for example, there's so little to be cautious about because the wallets which are being used are not our wallets. We're just a person that's right in the middle, making it easier to get from wallet to wallet. And when you are on your hot wallet, it's our goal to make sure that when you hit confirm on your hot wallet, that first of all it is, for example, Caspium, and that the amount of money that's being requested is the correct amount. That's the paramount goal and the thing that we have to ensure through what we're doing, I guess. But the risk is much lower because of that, because the merchant is working mostly with a hardware wallet. It's totally separate. They have that S tier type of security where the funds are being sent to. The only risk is the customer when they hit confirm, and to be able to ensure that there hasn't been a phishing attack where somehow it opened up a thing that's not Caspium, it gives them a number that's not the real number, stuff like that. That's where we have to just make sure, but the stakes are much lower, I guess, for Nexus, and thankfully.
I appreciate what you're doing, Odie. Having something confirm that what you're sending is the right amount is really special, especially when you have your money in a wallet. You want to make sure that amount reaches another person and that there's not going to be an, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to put that zero in there, or, having an accident happen. Um, it's just another layer of security, in my opinion. So I think it's great that you're behind that, and that's awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm newly part of the team, so I'm not a spokesman. There's definitely paperwork to be part of the company, and there's little NDA things that need to be done just to ensure certain proprietary needs that are involved with this company. But the fact that it's not a hardware wallet, it's simply just to provide a frictionless environment from wallet to wallet. That's the only goal of Nexus, as far as I can tell. These are my own words, not the company at whole.
That's awesome. Juan, did you want to?
I think we've had a great conversation tonight. I'm fired up, especially what we talked about here at the end. But no, overall it's been wonderful. How you feeling, Kara?
I'm doing
We're going
pretty.
on 3.5 hours, so we're like halfway through what we typically take.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like my throat.
We can wind it down.
I might have to make some hot tea or something. Yeah.
Well, I mean, unless anybody else has something to say, we can wind it down. So we're going on 3.5 hours here, and
Yeah, it's been a great show. We've covered a lot of material. It's been great, and it's good, especially after a 2-week break and having the holidays, being able to come back like this with so much enthusiasm over all the new things happening and getting to hear from our special guests, Odie and Onion and Casmi and CryptoNinja, just a variety of people. And then, of course, the people in the chat who've been throwing in valuable links and information like the Casper Futurist and Coder of Stuff and truly sending NFTs, just, all of that. It's been so special. All of it.
yeah, we all needed this. So the 2 weeks, obviously for the holidays and the New Year. So again, Happy New Year to everybody. Happy to be back in this conversation. We're gonna keep at it. We're gonna keep at it. So we're just scratching the surface with what's possible on a daily basis within this protocol. And I mean, there's so many wonderful people in this space, man. So shout out to a handful of people. As I see Parker down there, thanks for joining, buddy. Been putting out some great content. My man Bishop for listening, and he's been on the entire time. See a bunch of
Yeah,
regular people,
wow.
Brock, Crypto Oracle. I mean, he's always on here too. Just want to shout everybody out for showing up live, and for the people that are going to listen in later. So we just appreciate
Yeah,
all of you for supporting. And CryptoNinja, I think this is the first time I don't think I've heard from you before. So beautiful question, man. Got me fired up. I was like kind of winding down with my energy, but that was a great question for Odie. And yeah, man,
yeah,
it's
Thanks,
great.
Juan. Yeah, sorry, but many times so I work on a farm in Canada, and yeah, with between signal and late nights and difficult situations, it's sometimes tough to be on on all the
Yeah, we get
AMAs
it,
and
man.
listen to the spaces. But I always catch up as best I can afterwards, and I'm obviously in talks with a lot of guys like Lavendi and Wolf and all those. So I somehow get through the cracks at some point.
There we go. There we go. Well, it was great to meet you tonight, man. Tonight was perfect for us to meet you and have you up on stage. So we appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, and keep doing the good jobs that you guys are doing.
Appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you to everyone who's listening live and those who will be listening later on recording. We actually have more people who listen to us on recording than live, so I'm never discouraged when I see a space like today when we started. We had 5 people, and I was happy for those 5 because they're the ones that showed up, right? That was really great. But here's the thing, we're gonna have hundreds that will be listening later, and so we just want to thank everyone for being a part of it. And for those who have shown up here live, I mean, you're taking time out of your day to be here in the present, and we appreciate that as well because that's really special. You could be anywhere, and you're listening here. And even those who are listening later, you can be anywhere, and you got this on, and you're listening. And so we just are glad to have that and be a part of it. And Juan, I gotta thank you, buddy, because you are in Colombia. You're in South America doing
See,
this today.
and it's early.
And
It's
that's
early
really
down here, actually.
special. Are you serious?
Yeah, Columbia.
Oh my gosh, that's right. What's
No,
the
no, no.
time
It's the
zone over
same time.
there?
I'm just saying midnight is early for Colombia on a Wednesday.
Oh.
That's all I'm saying.
They all show up to the clubs at 1:30 a.m.
Well, I don't do the clubs, but I definitely go for walks and have a good time. But
Oh my God. That's so cool. And I'm so happy for you, Juan, taking this nomad journey. And I know you spent, what, 3.5 years in Miami in your apartment, and you now are taking this new step, this new chapter. And I'm wishing you a lot of luck with that and a lot of happiness.
thank you, thank you. I'm still going to be based out of Miami. My son is there, so I'll be back there a handful of weeks every single month. But yeah, I mean, the people in my family know that this what I'm working on is bigger than myself, and Casp was a big part of it. So I want to be a part of the conversation, be a part of the solution, just be a part of this, right? And give my I've been blessed with so much in my life, and I just want to give as much as I can, because I know that it always comes back tenfold. So I appreciate you, Kara. Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year to you. Great to connect again. Great conversation that we had prior to the show. Thank you for thinking of me and suggesting people and all that. So I appreciate you. But this has been
Of
a fun
course.
conversation. The only episode we're in double digits, episode 12. I'm gonna keep it rolling,
Yeah,
no
and
doubt.
if anyone wants to send us a donation so that we can continue keeping our show live on Vivor, you're welcome to send us a tip. We split all of our proceeds 50-50. You can send it to beneaththesurface.cas. We tend to leave some in the wallet for the show so that we can continue paying for those transactions. But the rest of it, if there's extra in there for us to share for wealth. We share it with each other. So feel free to do that if you enjoy the show. So we don't expect anything. It's just one of those things. We're open to receiving. And as always, I will be archiving this on my YouTube channel so that those of you who prefer to listen on YouTube instead of X Spaces will have that option.
I just want to add that, Cara, that your YouTube channel will be a artifact of great significance and a deep cut research piece for many newcomers who become obsessed. They're going to find they're going to find this particular thing on YouTube, and it's going to be something that they listen to with like, and they're going to be enamored, going, this is a piece of history.
That's so cool. I love that you say that.
That is cool. That is cool. I mean, I experienced that going back to some of the archival Bitcoin stuff that is like hidden. So yeah, I could see that happening with this content, no doubt.
That's so cool. I love that. And you're right. Maybe it will be a part of history one day. There'll be people studying it. And there's so much that goes with that. And I love being a part of it. And you're going to be a part of history too, right? Because
Yeah, we all are. All of
shows,
us on
all
here.
of us are, this is history in the making. And all of us are bringing so much knowledge and experience and questions and answers and playing devil's advocate. All of it counts, and it's just beautiful.
See.
So
As my
Juan, do
people
you
would
want to
say.
do your
See. Así es como. Let's go, que pretty. Me voy, me fui. Okay, so there's some Spanish in there now. Yeah, we'll close it out here. Again,
all right.
appreciate all of you. I shouted each and every single one of you out. Appreciate you so much, Cara. Looking forward to next week. If you enjoyed the show, found value, definitely retweet it. Send it to people that aren't on X, and maybe they'll get on X and be a part of the conversation. So again, thank you guys for joining Blockchain Banter Beneath the Surface, where Kaspa carries the current of truth, vibrating at the frequency of truth seekers. So remember, one conversation at a time. Be humble, be kind, give it time. Love you all. Have a beautiful night.
Take care.
See.